Because, I mean, traditionally, I would imagine players get to 30-something and they go, the old body's not quite, not quite. I don't quite run the singles the way I used to. There's a couple of yards off the pace. I wonder if coaching will suit me. Whereas you're talking about a young chap who is simultaneously learning coaching as well as learning the game. I think that is kind of really interesting.
Yeah. No, it's good, and credit to him as well. Credit to him to give up. Credit to him to take that path, and I think it would be great for him because he's going to be. Surrey has some fantastic coaches around that he can learn from. As a player, but as a coach as well, and we all learn from. Our PE teachers back in the day, or our first cricket coach, and or whatever coaches we've been around, you can take things from them. So excited for him to start his coaching journey, and excited for it to be with us as well with a bit of support. And for the scholars too. Having someone of his level around the program, coaching them, and just seeing if
we are back after lunch. And they're just coming out. I'm joined by Mash. And I'm joined by Hendo. I was nearly falling asleep over lunch.
Excuse me, Bear. I'm sorry. I'm just doing my impression of that guy from the Fast Show. The one who coughs a lot. Who is that? But I forget what his name is. But there you go. We're back at Galle, or as we prefer to call it, the little ground on the roundabout by the beach. And Sri Lanka are doing quite well. 76 for 2 at lunch after losing 2 early wickets. Jimmy Anderson picking up both of those on his return to Sri Lanka, his 5th tour to Sri Lanka. Angelo Matthews and Lahiri Thirumanni have batted very solidly since losing those wickets of Pereira out to a terrible shot, it has to be said. And Machado Fernando making his home debut, just chopping on, and big disappointment for him. But it's interesting to see Thirumanni doing well. I mean, he's a man who's been involved in Test cricket on and off for 10 years. Got only his 2nd century last week against England. Quite interesting. I saw Cricketing View, one of our friends on Twitter, saying, "Relax, England. Thirumanni is not due to get another 100 till 2027." Which is pretty
nice.
Anyway, Mash, we're squeezing Mash in because he's only here for a little time. He's here for a good time, not a long time. And what you've seen this morning, Mash, what have you made of it?
To me, it's just a natural first session of a first day. I mean, England would have wanted one more. I don't know where you two stand. I always say first session, ideally to have had a good session, you want 3 wickets. But 76 for 2 is even Stevens, isn't it? Provided England get another 2 in this session, I think they'd be fine with that.
Well, it's going to be Jimmy Anderson who opened the bowling this morning. He's going to be returning round the wicket to the left-handed Thirumanni, who comes forward to his first delivery and pushes square on the offside. Jack Leach, I think it is, or is it Dominic Best coming round to field? Worrying though, especially after all the talk about how dry this surface was or is going into this game, and the fact that it would turn from the very start. It really hasn't shown signs of that, has it?
Well, were you listening to Sangha at the beginning of lunch on the telly?
Yes, I did hear Sangakkara talking a little bit, yes.
Well, he was saying that, ideally a Galle wicket doesn't really do much for the first 2.5 days.
Has he edged that? I think he has. Jimmy Anderson has brought an end to Lahiri Thirumanni's innings of 43 straight after lunch. Anderson has the most remarkable figures of 5.2 overs, 3 for 4. And another reason why it was good to bring Jimmy Anderson back on is that Thirumanni has fallen to him several times in Test cricket when he's had to play against him. Never got any runs against him, and again it's happened. We still will have to wait till 2027 for Thirumanni's 3rd Test century, but he's gone for 43. He'll be absolutely gutted, I think, to have got out to that one. Just edged it through to Jos Buttler, and he's on his way.
Well, it has to give you some comfort that, even in pretty torrid, bowler unfriendly conditions, both Broad and Anderson have managed to take wickets on flat South Asian continental wickets, and they're going to India next. The thing is, their experience. I mean, these guys have got 1,100, 1,200 Test wickets between them. They're smart, wily bowlers now.
Yeah, I mean they still have those skills, the skill of swing for Jimmy Anderson, more a little bit of seam for Stuart Broad, but they're also, as you say, they're such wily campaigners. They've just become better and better bowlers as they've aged, and I'm sure in general, certainly true of Jimmy Anderson, is his average keeps coming down rather than getting worse. It's getting better the whole time. New batsman comes to the crease.
We haven't even got in time to play any bloody jingles from the beginning, have we?
It's all happening, isn't it? It's all happening.
I presume it's the skipper now, isn't it?
You would think so.
Yeah, it'll be this man.
Gentlemen, you're unstoppable. Except they suspended you over 8 ballyhoo. In T20, you lost the captaincy. Oh, Chanima, you're unstoppable.
And I think it's also worth saying a similar situation in the last game, wasn't it? I mean, they were 3 down before very early in the last game, and then it was Chandimal and Angelo Matthews who got them through to lunch, and they were about 80 odd for 3 at lunch, I think, in the first test. And then it all went tits up in the afternoon session, so you never know.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably because they were trying to be too attacking at that point. Anyway, here comes Anderson, 2 slips in the gully, bowls to Chandimal, and there, for the first time, we see a bit of Anderson's swing. That one came in to the right-hander. He's steered it away very neatly indeed out to deep mid-wicket. Jack Leach had to make a fair old way around the boundary edge to get to that, and they've got back for 2 runs. Sri Lanka 78 for 3. Mash, have we got any tweets?
Yeah, so just in response to the interview with Cheppy Green in the lunch interval, Sister Rosie says that was great. Very
Sister Rosie! I haven't heard from Sister Rosie for ages.
Yeah, it's always great to hear from Sister Rosie. She's out there. She just keeps very quiet, doesn't she? We'll come back to more tweets in a moment as Anderson is back in over the wicket to Chandimal, leaves a good length ball outside the off stump through to Butler, and there is no run. Mash.
And she just ends with, it'll be awesome to see what talent comes through down the line. And then Ratchet Bay says, and he gets the wicket. Old wine Jimmy.
Yeah, he's loving his work out there. I mean, we always talk about how grumpy he often looks, but a broad grin on his face at the moment. Not a Stuart Broad grin, but a broad grin nonetheless. And he's having a great day of it. Continuing over the wicket, figures of 3 for 6. In bowls to Chandimal, who almost does an Ashado Fernando and chops the ball down onto his stumps. Fortunately, there was a second of line of defence in the form of his pads, and it dropped down the crease and hit them, but he survives.
Just held its line. I mean, it's a good ball straight after. I mean, this is it. This is your chance to get wickets in there. They're 40 minutes in the hutch. They batted very well before lunch. And they've got to come out, reset themselves, hung it out a little bit further outside the off stump, a little bit new after lunch, forgot where his off stump was. There was no need to play at that ball really, but he just pushed it, didn't he?
No. In again to Chandimal. Chandimal plays a nice, pleasant drive towards extra cover, but can't get it through. And that is the end of the first over after lunch. Success for Jimmy Anderson. Sri Lanka are 78 for 3. Mash.
Yes, actually we don't have any. Well, bear with me. Actually, we may do. No, we don't. Sorry.
No tweets. No tweets. What's the matter with you people?
I think people are just probably waking up, getting their morning coffee.
Oh, that waking up kind of thing. Oh yeah, I always forget about that. When you've been on air for about 3.5 hours, it feels like it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. When in fact, of course, it's only 18 minutes past 7 in England right
Absolutely. Have you got to go off and teach then? I presume after this, Mash.
Yeah.
He's very reluctant to say. Is it?
Gotta prep myself. Do you know what though? My first lesson isn't actually till 9 o'clock. But there's things like meetings and stuff that have to be done before that. So yeah, I count it all as teaching.
Well, absolutely.
Fair enough.
It's your time, isn't it? We're going to open with spin. alongside Jimmy Anderson. It's going to be this man.
Okay, it's this man. For some reason, he has a count-in on the jingle machine.
If the pitch isn't good for pace, get this lad on his bowling's ace. But if you need someone who bats, you should just save Dom Best for last.
Well, he's not saved till last. He's first up after lunch, and his first ball is driven down to deep mid-on by Angelo Matthews. He takes his first single of the afternoon, and Sri Lanka move to 79 for 3. Chandimal has a couple. Matthews is on 27, and the Sri Lankan captain in, of course, as captain because of the absence of Karunaratne, who's struggling with that broken thumb. Bess in, bowls tight to leg stump, defended up towards mid-on, and there is no run. Healthy run rate of about, well, getting up towards 3. I must admit, there seemed to be so little going on after the initial burst from Anderson and Sam Curran that I feared for England. And I still do to a certain extent. This looks a pretty good pitch to bat on at the moment. Back goes Chandimal and forces up to mid-on once more. And there is no run.
Well,
but I think it's a good toss to win. I really do.
Well, yeah, the last one should have been a good toss to win as well. I mean, you always want to bat. I mean, on a pitch like this, I think you always want to bat first because the chances are it will break up, and it's always going to be hardest batting fourth.
Yeah, but it's a lot easier to bat on than I think the one was last week. This is driven up to mid-off, and there's no run again. But I think it was put in our minds, God knows why, really. I mean, it was just articles that one read, and there aren't that many, certainly English journalists out there at the moment, but there's all this talk about how dry this pitch was going to be, that it might break up immediately. Bess in, bowls, this is full, and forced up to mid-on. Oh, terrible piece of fielding by Mark Wood there, as he tried to get side on to gather the ball. In fact, it's Jimmy Anderson. He's let it go right through his hands, and it's run away to the long on boundary for one of these.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Dear, oh dear, Jimmy, you owe Bess some runs.
Yes, he does indeed. That's poor. I mean, he's a good fielder, Jimmy Anderson, even at his advanced age of 38. But he got that all wrong. It does seem to be a slightly bobbly outfield at Galle, so there is some mitigation. Bess in again, short, forced by Chandimal. Hit probably too hard, straight to mid-off, can't get the single. End of the over, just a 5 from it, 83 for 3. Mash.
Mayank says, no tweets, how disrespectful. Mog said, good lord, don't debase yourself by begging for tweets, who knows what shit you'll get.
Very true, very true.
Anna Forsyth says, James Anderson is aging like a bottle of wine. I bought like a bottle of wine I couldn't afford. I hasten.
Oh. Yeah, Jimmy is he's just getting more. I think he's also not just becoming a better bowler, but I think he might be getting more handsome. And that
you get man love, Hendo.
Yeah, bit of man love. I've seen the pictures. Was it Jane with a Y stuck Jimmy Anderson's naked body on my head on one occasion on Twitter?
I think that's correct.
Yeah, it's I wish I looked like that, but there you go. Yes, we're looking at Tiramani against James Anderson. He's been dismissed by him 8 times in tests between the two nations. 4 times in England, 4 times in Sri Lanka. He's averaging 5.5 against him in England and 3.25 against him in Sri Lanka. So that is some measure of the hex that Jimmy Anderson has over poor old Lahiri Tiramani. He's going to continue to bowl to Angelo Matthews. Matthews on 27. The 2 most experienced players at the crease right now. This is a good length ball outside the off stump, left alone.
Do we have an Angelo jingle?
Matthews. Yeah, why not?
Run into bowl or he comes into bat. Angelo Matthews, Angelo Matthews.
We should also have one for Jimmy.
Jimmy, 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 aja, aja, aja. Jimmy, 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 aja, aja, aja. Jimmy, Jimmy, Jimmy,
He's in a fuller ball, but that's met with a beautiful full face of the bat from Angelo Matthews. He's unlucky in the sense that the mid-on is quite straight and gets around to that, but it was a sumptuous shot, and I thought for a moment that was going to go all the way down the ground for 4 more. The score remains 83-3. This, of course, is England battling to claim the Moose Cup. We had a lot of good talk about elks and various relatives of the elk during the last test, but if you have any more details about elk, please get in touch. Here comes Anderson again, just the one slip now. Oh, it comes back in off the seam, if anything, left alone by Matthews through low to Joss Butler, and again there is no run. A little bit more cloudy than it was at the start. There's nothing to be worried about, I wouldn't say, but there's it's not the beautiful clear blue sky that it was first thing this morning.
There's a bit of a
but it's
breeze
still a picture.
too.
Still a picture, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a picture, and there's a bit of a breeze too. Might help Jimmy if he's going to swing. I noticed when the ball, Chandimal.
Shorter ball from Anderson, trying to dig that up into the ribs of Angelo Matthews, who plays it rather uncomfortably down into the ground, and again no run. Sorry, Bear.
Well, while Chandimal jabbed that last one in the last over into the ground, and they did a close-up on where it was on the ground. There was actually quite a lot of shine on the ball on one side.
They didn't get to change the ball. I know at one point they were looking to change the ball, but I don't think that was given the okay by the umpires. It went through the hoop quite comfortably. A slip in the gully for Anderson, who is in, bowls, and brings Matthews forward to a ball that was a little bit back of a length. If anything, you would have expected him to have gone back to that, but he plays it comfortably nonetheless. And the score remains 83-3. That was, let's have a look at Jimmy's speeds. 129, 129, 138, 131 and 136. So he's around about, 82, 83 miles an hour?
Yeah, on average, 136 was at 85. So he's
85, that's not bad.
It's not bad.
Not bad at all. He's into his 7th over, about to complete it. It goes a little bit wider on the crease, and once more Matthews is a little uncomfortable. He's anticipating a little bit of seam sideways movement, and he rather jabs at that in the way that Yunus Khan used to do later in his career. That's the end of the over. Sri Lanka 83-3. Ash.
Yes, Knuckles says that is the first time in Thiramane's Test career, which is now 73 innings long, that he has scored 40 or more in back-to-back innings. He's still never scored back-to-back 50s, or Test 50s, I should say.
Wow.
Well, that kind of really accounts, I suppose, for the fact that he's been in and out of this team. I don't think he's helped by kind of erratic selection policies in Sri Lanka, but. And maybe if he'd been given more of an opportunity, he would have come on stronger, I suppose. But at the moment, he's only averaging 23 or so in Test cricket. As you say, 73 innings already played. Sammy Curran is going to come into the attack. I think that's the right move. Dominic Best bowled just that one over, but Root has seen that there's a little bit of sideways movement now. Maybe a lot of the shine has gone out of the ball. There is a little bit more movement, curiously enough. Anyway, we're going to see him. Let's jingle him up. Sammy Curran.
Is he a batter or bowler?
Sam Curran.
What's his distinguishing feature?
Sam Curran.
He starts from Zimbabwe.
Sam Curran.
And he's beloved by Liz Yates.
Sam Curran.
He's coming from the Mahinda Rajapaksa Pavilion end. And he's got a slip, a gully, a short mid-off, and a fairly short extra cover. Also, 2 men saving the one on the offside. He's round the wicket to Chandimal, who strokes rather pleasantly towards extra cover, who goes down into the long barrier position to field. And there is no run. Curran very unlucky this morning, I thought, when he was denied that wicket of Pereira, based only really on the umpire's ruling, which I suppose is quite important. It would have hit, and a significant portion of the ball would have hit, but not enough. Anyway, he brings his mid-on a little bit straighter. Chandimal pulls away to wait, as Anderson is offering some advice to the younger man. Now sets off again, scampering in, past the umpire. Bowls onto the back foot goes Chandimal. Prods it in the direction of the short extra this time. And again, there is no run.
Well, apparently your boys aren't doing too well, Nash, I hear.
Well,
Oh dear.
What's the score? What is the score there?
79 for 7 after 26.6 overs.
listen, let's just carry on with this game.
Yeah. I just
At least that one doesn't seem to be on a telly anywhere.
I'm sure we could get it if I got that IPTV back. We could get Bangladesh telly and watch it.
Full of ball from Curran. Again, stroked to the deeper set extra cover, who ends up in a position somewhere around mid-off to do the fielding there. And again, there is no run. Chandimal 6, Matthews 27. Sri Lanka 83 for 3. All 3 wickets, would you believe, to Jimmy Anderson. Now has 603 to his name.
Speaking of Jimmy Hendo, Anna says, Hendo, Jimmy is definitely getting more handsome. When you're right, you're right.
Well, absolutely. He's in again, bowls. Probing around that off stump, angling in from round the wicket. It's defended on the front foot by Chandimal.
Mind you, what team have you sent out there? This is like third 11 or something.
It's we've basically sent that this team would struggle to beat. I reckon they'd struggle to beat Papua New Guinea.
I think they'd be Papua New Guinea.
I'm not even exaggerating. I actually think they would struggle to beat like Hong Kong. Then this team's about the same as Hong Kong, I reckon.
Yeah, who's skipper? Is it Jason Mohammed? I think I saw outside the off stump, left alone in exaggerated fashion, much like Steve Smith, much like Marnus Labuschagne. That seems to be becoming a popular manoeuvre amongst batsmen. And again, no run.
But this is qualifying for the World Cup as well, isn't it? Why have they sent out such a poor team? Is it just everyone doesn't want to go?
So, yeah, 10 of injuries plus 10 of the first choice players have all said no due to COVID.
Oh right.
Curran in shorter this time. Chandimal tries to help it into the onside with a little flick of the bottom wrist, but doesn't really get any timing. Goes straight to mid-wicket, and there is no run. A maiden for Curran. 6 overs now, none for 20. Sri Lanka 83 for 3. Mash.
Yes, I'm going to read some tweets and I'm going to throw you both a point out of that COVID thing. But yeah, so Ravi said, could you interview Ebony Rainford Brent next? To which Nakul has replied that this may be something that Gorilla can do. Watch this space. Read the ACE program. Mog says, sorry, my throat's gone. Mog says, please tell me Jimmy will play long enough to overtake Warne on the ladder.
Oh yes, and it'd be good, wouldn't it be good? I mean, if he had a really good tour of India, really good tour, really good summer for England, and then went to the Ashes, could he do it during the Ashes? That would be magnificent.
How much has Warne got?
700 dead on, isn't it?
700 odd. Anderson in to Matthews, jabbing away at a ball that just perhaps nibbles off the seam. Plays it backwards square on the offside. There is no run.
I think you need a year and a half to get past Warne. Don't know if mind you, we've got 17 tests this year, haven't we? I mean, this is the second of, is it 18 tests actually?
Well, if he survives through, yeah, I mean, we've got 4 against India. We've got definite 5 against India at home, and then there's talk about a series against New Zealand, 2 tests against New Zealand in the early part of the summer, defended again by Matthews, who's not making his defence look comfortable. He's struggling, perhaps full of respect for the man propelling the ball to him at the other end.
You need to average about 5.5 wickets a test match, which is
that would be extraordinary, wouldn't it?
Well,
really?
I mean, it's not when you think about 2 innings, 20 wickets, and Jimmy, he's bound to get 7 or 8 in a couple at home anyway. You'd have thought.
Yeah, certainly at home.
He's got 3 here already.
Yep, 3 for 6. He's running in again. Bowls to Matthews. He's in behind that one, defending towards mid-off. Yeah, Mash, you said you were going to throw out a discussion point.
So Bear said to me, obviously, what's going on, where are all the players?
Yeah, off camera, Tone.
But this is why, yeah, Tony, you're on camera. This is why I think that England have done the right thing in resting, whether you want to call it drop, rest, etc. Because some of those 10 players who've pulled out for West Indies have said the bubble life has got to them.
Yeah, I can understand that. Onto the back foot goes Matthews. He's trying to use that bottom hand to force it past mid-wicket, but can't. And again, there is no run. Yeah, I think this bubble thing is taking on a life of its own, isn't it? As a subject. It's very difficult. I think it's very difficult for all these people who are playing all formats, who are also playing in short form leagues as well. It must be becoming extremely difficult. Jason Holder must have been in a bubble for months, if not a whole year, pretty much. Defended outside the off stump, just reaching for that a little bit with a gap between bat and pad, but it didn't do enough to come between. And there is again no run.
No, I agree. I think it's hard enough touring constantly anyway when you're not in a bubble. I mean, it's just mentally tiring if you've got family and stuff being away from them constantly. At least they get the opportunities. I mean, somewhere like this, you'd imagine some of the England players. Who's that? What? Some of them would have had their families come out and join them and things like that as well. So,
Anderson bowls and beats Matthews, who plays an awful shot. He just floated the bat out there with no real intent of hitting it in any aggressive manner, and a massive lack of foot movement. Anyway, that's the end of the over. 83 for 3. Sorry, carry on, Bear.
Oh, well, no, I was just saying, I think it's just really difficult normally on a constant touring cycle. And you add in the COVID thing and being in a bubble all the time, as you say, I think it just must be mentally knackering. Yeah,
I do wonder that. I mean, do you think? I'm curious about the decision on Bairstow, because it's kind of. I know he wasn't given a central contract as a Test player, but he played pretty well in the first Test here. He's acknowledged as being a pretty good player of spin bowling, and then you take him out of the firing line for the first 2 Tests in India. And would it not be better to stay with the group rather than go back out there, keep spending time on planes, isolating, that sort of thing? You've still got to isolate presumably when you're at home. This is defended by Chandamal as Sam Curran starts a new over.
But presumably you can isolate at home with your family, and
with your family.
That's a lot easier than isolating in a hotel room, isn't it? So
I suppose, but I mean, it also depends, because to a certain extent you're with mates when you're playing in the England team. I suppose you've been with them for a long time, you know everyone. You come home, driven, lovely shot from Chandamal. Really got hold of that one, and it's run away to extra cover for one of these. Yeah, a little bit on the up from Chandamal there, but he played it beautifully, and he'll move into double figures with that stroke. I don't know, maybe it's I'm someone who doesn't like to spend much time on aeroplanes. Maybe if you're a dyed-in-the-wool international cricketer, you're so used to being on aeroplanes that another journey to and fro India, to and fro Sri Lanka doesn't bother you greatly. Sri Lanka moved to 87 for 3, 11th 4 of the innings. Round the wicket comes Curran. This is one a little bit shorter. He tries to flick it into the onside, finds mid-wicket. So yeah, it's a tricky one. I'm thinking about Buttler, because I'm wondering whether it's not just the fact that he's been in the bubble so long, but he's facing the prospect of another IPL in a couple of months, isn't he? Only sort of 4 or 5 months after the previous one finished. So he spent a lot of the summer in the England bubble, went into the IPL bubble, has gone out to this particular England bubble, going very wide on the crease, Curran, as he's pushed up to mid-off. And there is no run. 87 for 3, Chandamal 10, Matthews 27. And I suppose Sri Lanka just having to be a little bit cautious, as they would have not expected to lose that wicket so quickly after lunch, the way things were going up until the break. Anyway, Curran is in again, a strong breeze blowing as he approaches, comes round the wicket, and this is flicked square on the onside, not square enough to get the single, because Lawrence is round to field. just to 76 miles an hour. That particular delivery from Curran. He's about to complete his 7th over.
He's got a bit of bum fluff on his chin, I think.
He has, hasn't he? Yeah, he's missed something when he was. Well, does he shave? Do you think?
It doesn't look like
Sure,
it.
he does, doesn't? Yeah, maybe just a little out sprouting of fluff. So we're into the 30-second over, the end of the 30-second over. Sri Lanka 87 for 3. In comes Curran again. Bowls flicked away. This time he has got it square enough. Lawrence will have to pursue that, but he might as well give it up. I think that's going to rattle into the boundary sponge, if such a thing is possible, and Chandamal picks up another boundary. And time flies when you're enjoying yourself, because that is more or less it from me for the time being. John O'Gordon is moving into position to bring you ball by ball. Messi, Jez and Tony Bishop are alongside him. Morning, Jono.
Morning, Hendo. Thank you very much, gents. Look forward to chatting with you later on. Morning, Jez.
Good morning, Jono. Good. Hi, Bishop. Being on with Jono and the Bishop feels like I'm with a hit team of some sort.
Jono and the Bishop. It's quite a scary thought.
I think this is the first time we've ever been on together, Jez.
I think it is actually, yeah.
Very exciting.
I've actually had a marketing idea for your bats, which I'll give you in a minute.
Fantastic.
Have a word with me first. Don't give it away. If it's any good, if it's any good, you sell it. If it's a marketing idea.
Anderson into Matthews, who probably gives his hands away to that one a little, but gets away with it. Tony, I mean, I've seen your text in the WhatsApp group about West Indies. Poor Marshall. I mean, what is going on?
That bag has got a fair few holes in the bottom at the moment, I'm afraid.
Yes, it has. Yeah, wow. 86 for 7 last time I looked.
Oh, that's a recovery. They were 77 for 7 when I.
Oh, okay. Oh, so they're positively flying since. Anderson into Matthews, who leaves that alone outside the off stump through to Just Butler, 91 for 3. How's life in Australia, Jez?
It is warm. It is currently, it's cooled down a couple of degrees, 34.5 degrees.
Oh.
I have a confession. I am sitting here without any trousers on.
Sans culotte.
Sans indeed.
Sin bracas, as they would say in Spain.
Under pantalon.
Yeah. Whereabouts were you? WA, are you?
Yeah, I'm in Perth. Well, in the Perth Hills is.
Wow.
And I'm also watching the Scorchers playing a BBL game against the Hurricanes.
Oh, wow, is Anderson in? Oh, it's well fielded by Bairstow at short, straight mid wicket. Yeah, the Bash has been good this year, I think. I mean, I haven't really got my head around these subs and stuff. I think maybe they're trying to recreate the wheel a little bit, but I do quite like watching the Bash.
It has been good this year, I think. It's quite long. I think even Messers would agree with that. But some of the
twice as long as it should be.
The entertainment has been good. The quality of the cricket variable, but the entertainment undoubtedly I think has been first rate.
Anderson in now, 4th ball of the over, and that's just blocked back up the pitch by Angelo Matthews. I didn't realise until just now, because I woke up about 10 minutes ago, that Jimmy Anderson had 3 for 6 from almost 9 overs.
Numbers 601, 602 and 603.
Well, life in the old bean yet, eh?
Well, to be honest, he's the only bowler who's looked in the least bit threatening.
Really? Yeah, Broad bowled very well and very economically in the in the first game as well, didn't he? But
Broad and Anderson are a class apart. They really are.
Anderson now, 5th ball of the over in, and that's left alone outside the off stump by Angelo Matthews. They just know where to bowl it. I mean, I say this about my amateur playing. Like you don't become any more skillful. You just know where not to bowl more often than you do, when you're younger. Someone of Louis' age, for example.
Well, very much so. I mean, he does have a 5 for at Galle before. Does Jimmy? Took 5 for 72. Well, he got, fun enough, Thiramani then. He got Thiramani, Sangakkara, Jaya Warden and Welligedra amongst others. in 2012, but Sri Lanka won that one.
Sangha and Mahela, you wouldn't mind having them on your list.
No.
Is he in now to complete his 9th over? That's put back up the pitch by Angelo Matthews. 3 for 6 for Jimmy Anderson. 91 for 3 Sri Lanka. Anything on socials?
Oh,
There is indeed. Mog says 17 tests this year. What the fuck? Are England and India the only countries allowed to play more than a few tests, or what? Knuckles says, assuming Anderson plays 11 of England's 16 tests, including this, he won't be playing all of them, and even 11 of 15 is pushing it. He'd need just over 9.5 wickets a test to equal Warne in 2021. Well, that's not going to happen.
No.
Leah says, how the hell are they going to squeeze an IPL in between England and India and India in England? It's in the schedule. Have a look at the Future Tours programme on Cricinfo, Leah. You'll see the gap there for it. Knuckles says the tour in India ends in March and the tour in England starts in August. There's a fair window. And Mog says the amount of times you mention WhatsApp, you should be getting censored.
Yes,
True enough.
Sorry for cutting you off, Tony. We'll come back to you as soon as we get an opportunity. No doubt the whatever you're going to say was with vast entertainment value, as everything that you say normally is.
Blimey, what a build-up.
Oh yeah, I hope it's good now. As Curran in to start his 8th over, left arm round the wicket, left alone by Chandimal outside the off stump.
Rather flamboyantly left alone as well, a la Smith and loose bus change. It was that sort of high sweep when the ball goes underneath it.
Yeah. I mean, what's the reaction been like in Australia, Jez? Because I just think what India managed to do at the Gabba was wonderful.
Well, I may mix in a limited crowd, but everybody loved it.
Really?
It was just such gripping cricket. I was a little disappointed, but I just enjoyed it so much. It was fantastic for cricket.
Well, even my friends from the Barrel of Bullshit were complimentary. Sad about Australia losing, but highly complimentary about the fighting nature of India.
I think that's a very common view, and I mean the Indians were such good sports the whole time through, and just they did a wonder for diplomacy for India in Australia, in my view.
Second ball of the over blocked out into the offside by Chandimal. In for his third ball of the over, driven up to a short straight mid-off. Fielded by Johnny Bairstow. The third ball over by Dinesh Chandimal, but again for no run. What's the thoughts on the Steve Smith thing? Like, I had a very harsh view on it at first, and then kind of softened my view a little bit. But I mean, surely someone who knows that he's going to be in the global spotlight with everybody looking at every move he's making, that is a really strange decision to go about doing that in that way. As Curran in now seems to put a bit more effort into that one. It doesn't pay off though. It's worked behind square, only for one. But he now goes to none for 29. Sri Lanka on to 92 for 3.
Well, I don't think there's any argument about the fact that Steve Smith's a bit weird at best of times.
Yeah.
And frankly, I don't think he gives a fuck. It's. I don't think he does what he does because of the way people are going to react. Put it like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wonder if it's bringing any more negative attention on an Australian team that perhaps need to be a bit more careful.
I think Payne's got more of that coming at him.
Yeah. Langer interests me as well. Curran in now, and that's worked away just behind square on the leg side by Angelo Matthews, fielded by the man coming in from the deep backward square boundary, and that's another 1 to the total. I mean, Langer comes out in such staunch defence of him. And
Absolutely.
I get that, but Langer is one of the littlest, angriest men in the world. Like, I think he tries really hard to be nice, but I think he just wants to kill things. I think he's a really angry human.
No, I don't think you're right about him at all. I think on the field he was a bit like that, but I actually think he's a brilliant coach. But he does have anger in him, but he will stand by his team no matter what, even if it's not the right thing to do. And in a way, if I'm a member of the team, that's what I want from my coach. So it's a tricky one.
as Curran in to complete his 8th over the wicket this time. Chandimal just blocks that. Up to the back up the pitch. The field is kind of looking a bit. Come on, lads, do something. Let's make this interesting. They're just blocking.
Well, I think you have to credit Sri Lanka here because the difference so far in this first innings to the previous horrible collapse is that they've lost wickets, but then they've knuckled down and played sensibly, but still with sufficient aggression in between the loss of those wickets. 2 early wickets, and we were all fearing, oh Lord, this could be all out by lunchtime, and they didn't. They knuckled down and saw it through to lunch. Early wickets straight after lunch, Jimmy again, and he thought, oh, that could be the floodgates, but no, it hasn't been. So I think they've had a bit of a steel rod inserted into their back.
Yeah, I think these two are quite unquestionably their best, most experienced players, aren't they? So I think you'd expect a bit of a fight from these two. As Anderson in now he's picked a very small gap there between 2 short mid wickets, Angelo Matthews, but he works it away for one of these that Bear can't play a jingle for because he's somewhere off in the woods.
Well, while you're doing that, it's something to keep people entertained. Regarding Jimmy, I did look up all of his wickets, including his 2 major landmarks of taking over records. So 8 wickets to think about in all. The first 600, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, but also his 384th and his 564th. Taking them one at a time, people let us know who they were and how he got them. Let's start with his very first wicket in 2003. Ping through your answers on Twitter and we'll let you know who it was and when it was and how he got it.
Very good. As Anderson in now to Matthews, who leaves alone outside of stump. There's been a Sky bit of footage of this, and they keep playing it. So I've got an idea of a few of them. How he got them out, though. There's some big names in there.
Very much there are, as you would expect, I think.
There's also one Kiwi who did well against England, I think, but didn't really last too long. Maybe he was very, very tall.
That's right. 2 meters tall, in fact.
He was. That's it. But yeah,
let's take the first one first. 2003, I can tell you that much. But who was it, and how did he get it?
Matthews leaves alone a ball from Anderson that is passes probably shoulder height wide of the off stump. Sorry, Jez.
Knackle has a comment on Jimmy. He says, have we been on Jimmy retirement watch since the 2013-14 Ashes? Most bowlers would be proud of the Test career he's had since then, let alone the rest of it. That's a really good point.
It is, yeah. I mean, his longevity's been amazing, hasn't it? You say, his first wicket in 2003, Tony?
2003, that is correct.
As another ball left alone outside off stump through to Joss Butler for no run by Angelo Matthews. Jez had hair in 2003. That's how long ago that is. I mean, I can only imagine he had hair in 2003.
I certainly had long hair in 1973, but whether it in 2003. Mog says everybody I know down here thinks it was excellent that India managed it. Also, fuck the Australian Test team. You have to give Mog marks for consistency.
Yeah. Anderson in. Driven loosely by Angelo Matthews, thick outside edge, and it's going to work its way away for a boundary. But we are without jingles as Bear is obviously
1, 2, 3, 4.
Gone to do what bears do in the woods. One would imagine. For whatever reason, people still want to see Australia do badly, don't they? I don't know whether it's because of the way they go about their cricket at times. I think Tim Payne's done a wonderful job. I'm not against the sledging thing at all. I think people jumped on him because he shelled 1-2 balls later, so he became an easy target. Verbals happen at all levels of the game, as long as it's kept within. As long as it doesn't get too personal.
It's more than the verbals, though. Oh wait.
As Angelo Matthews leaves alone, the final ball of Jimmy Anderson's last over. That's 35 gone, 101 for 3.
There's been significant question marks about his on-field captaincy during the last days of both the Sydney and the Brisbane Test matches. Not helped by Ricky Ponting being really quite critical on the Channel 7 commentary here.
Okay.
He just gave the impression that he was, when he gets flapped, he's actually not a sort of calm leader. I tell you what really pissed me off was when they were in a bad spot, have a drinks break, instead of geeing up his troops, he was talking to the Flying Fox camera in an interview.
Oh, right, yeah.
That's.
Are we doing on social messes?
Sorry, yes. So, where are we? James Humberson is with us. Says, "Hello, lovely Gorilla Cricket. What's Steve Smith thing?"
Very good.
And Morgan Hausfleisch says, "Good morning from Namibia. I've neglected you guys for a while. Sorry about that. Australia versus India was fantastic. I supported India only when Warner was batting. After he was dismissed, I gunned for Australia." And Leah says, I hate Langer. People make fun of Ravi Shastri all the time, but compared to Langer, he's a Dishtarandenka of the highest order.
There you go. Don Best back into the attack. That's just almost forced up to mid-on by Chandimal, and Jimmy Anderson does the fielding. In a better sense than he did earlier, when Don Best looked very unhappy as he let one go through his legs for 4, but no harm done on this occasion. Best on for 15 or 6.1 currently. Sri Lanka 101 for 3 as Chandimal forward to a straight one. Was not. It doesn't seem to be turning at the moment. That was too full for it to give it any great turn anyway. Has there been any kind of turn of note this morning, fellas?
Not really. It's been a good first morning wicket. In fact, there's been a little bit of swing and seam, perhaps more than turn.
Okay. That's another very full ball. Blocked back up the pitch by Dinesh Chandimal for no run.
My sense is, Bish, and my feed's not that good, so I might be wrong, that it's not quite as slow a wicket as the one for the first test. That there's not quite that tennis ball bounce that was on there.
No, I think that would be fair enough.
It looks easy paced, right? Yeah. That was a quicker one by Bess. Again, blocked with relative comfort by Chandimal. Bess puts his hands over his head as if to say, "Oh."
That's very much his
He does that, doesn't he?
That's his manoeuvre to do that. It's that sort of crossing of his arms over his head. He's very much his "ooh, that was close" go-to move.
My puppy does that when he's woken up. So I don't know. I'm liking Don Best to a puppy. I suppose he is comparatively in terms of his Test career, isn't he? It's one of his idiosyncrasies, isn't it?
What does he bowl?
Garbage. His throwdowns have been useless. I mean, the one thing I've needed him for in the year he's been with us, throwdowns, awful.
He'll probably prefer you throwing it for him.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, as Chandimal blocks that back up the pitch to Don Bess again for a dot ball. And he's bowling. I can't bowl to him with this one with a squeaker in it that he loves chewing. It just doesn't go anywhere. I can't generate any real pace with it. Doesn't swing. The dog's been minus use on a cricketing front as Bess to complete his over, worked up to short mid wicket by Chandimal, and that is maiden over, the 36th. Best none for 15.
So Mog reckons you're exaggerating. He says it's only 198 centimetres. Knackle says, I know India won in Australia with a third choice pace attack and so destroyed all precedents, but it is worth pointing out that Sri Lanka are missing 2 of their best batter in Karen Ratne and Danjanad Silva. Ravi says,
sorry Jez, just remind me of who those 2 batters are again.
Yeah, the first one was who? With Karunaratne, was it?
Their captain and De Silva, yeah, Karunaratne. So Ravi says 2-metre Peter Fulton is one of Anderson's landmark wickets. I think we might have got there, haven't we?
Correct. He was. I'll tell you which one in a moment.
And the light roller says Jimmy's first wicket was Mark Vermeulen in 2003.
It was Mark Vermeulen. He was bowled. And 2-metre Peter edge to Graham Swan at second slip at Lords for number 300.
Mark Wood in starts one down the leg side. Only about 4 overs out of the 36 this morning. Currently none for 10. Matthews would have felt very aggrieved to have been strangled down the leg side there, but just misses everything and through to Josh Butler for no run. So we've we've missed the second 100th, the 200th, haven't we?
Yes, it was an Australian. I'll tell you no more. But who was the second? Where, how, and who?
Where now?
The wicket 200. Actually, you didn't get number 100. You haven't got 100 either. Let's start with number 100.
Oh, that's an in-swinging Yorker from Mark Wood at decent pace from the looks of things. Worked away by Angelo Matthews, well fielded out on the boundary, I think, by Dan Lawrence. As the youngster, he's probably, you go and run around out there for a while, and you know they restricted to 1. So yes, of course, we did miss the 100th as well.
Yeah, you did. Although missing the 100 would be good in some ways, but not in terms of Jimmy's career.
Any clues, Bish?
It was in the UK, and it's a man who's been on tour, interestingly, with England, who was the wicket.
Wood in again now. That's left alone. Sharp, steep bounce. Left alone by Chandival through to Butler for no run. I think it may be England's batting consultant on the current tour, is it?
It is. You are spot on.
Gillis. Nicked off or LBW?
He was trapped LBW by a vicious in-swinger in a series-ending win at the Oval in 2008.
Good leave that by Chandimal. It's gone through at throat height at pace. Wood in again now. That is just worked away through forward square leg, but 4-1. Jack Leach doing the tidying up. Wood's been used in very short, sharp bursts, hasn't he?
I'm
the first.
You know what?
Well.
I mean, he needs a wicket because he was wicketless in the first game. Didn't really get much of a bat. You know, of all the batters, bowlers, I beg your pardon, he's arguably the least suited to these conditions. And having watched him go wicketless and not particularly threatening in the first game, you know, come on, Mark, would he have another go? And I think with the breadth of potential opportunities to try other players ahead of India, a trick potentially was missed, because Mark Wood is not going to necessarily be your go-to bowler in India. So
no.
Not curious thinking by England on that one. I think a wee bit.
He did bowl a decent ball there though, and that's just blocked back up the pitch for a dot, fifth ball of the over. I would put him as England's fourth choice seamer. I think on these kind of wickets you'd obviously have Anderson and Broad and then Curran, because he bowls more change up than Wood. You've then got Wokes. Maybe he's the fifth choice team. I don't know. He's in now to complete his over. Again, you know, quick. You know, he's bowling decent wheels. Hits Matthews on the thigh pad, just blocks out into the offside again. No run. Anything more on socials, Jez?
Yeah, on YouTube, Simon Hill has joined us, and he says, very happy to have discovered your channel. Entertaining banter. Thank you, Simon. Good to be with you.
Must have meant the last crowd.
We're up to date on Twitter, and there's a few names on Facebook. Name check: Javid Ahmed Malik, Hasib Gujar, and Sami Salazi are all with us. Welcome.
Yes, welcome. Thank you very much. Sri Lanka, 37 overs into their first innings, are 103 for 3 with 14 fours. So, I mean, there's not a right lot of running been completed by the looks of things. There's over half of it in boundaries, as that's worked away. Just back up the pitch to Don Bess by Dinesh Chandimal off the back foot. Not going anywhere at any great rate of knots, is it, this innings?
Well, and does it need to?
No.
I mean, they've had to steady ships after 3 wickets.
Yeah.
There isn't a need to be pushing along. Annie Chavers, by the way, said hello to us on Cricket Tracker.
Morning.
Hi, Annie.
And Shanga Singh also is saying super and giving us a round of applause. So we like that.
Very kind. Definitely didn't mean the last lot.
2.75 runs on overs, not bad in Test cricket. You know, end of the day, if you have 90 overs, you're going to be up around 250, 260 at that basis.
Yeah, I guess. As Best fields off his own bowling, as Chandimal pushes back up the pitch.
But I do agree, it's a bit of a stalemate. Apart from Jimmy, when Jimmy's bowling, there's no sense that anything's going to happen much, is there?
Yeah, I feel like I'm still waiting for something to happen that I can get excited about, if that makes sense. Oh, hold on, there's a single. There it is. As Chandimal works that. Dom Sibley coming in from the deep square leg boundary, and they come through for a 1, which is wonderful to see. The Bears back, so we can do jingles as well. I mean, everything's. So I feel like it's my birthday again.
Because the Bears back, or because there was a single?
A single, the Bears back. We can have jingles. I'm on with you two. It's just, you know,
it's all good.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Life is good. COVID what? Don Best pulls out, then just to move a fielder at 45 on the 1, half a yard to his left. There must be potential OCD kicking in. No, that blade of grass. Stand on that blade of grass. As he's in again now and works away off the back foot. Misfielded by Don Best, but no harm done as it's collected by Zach Crawley. They're all wearing sun hats today, which is incredibly difficult. So the need to know and recognise numbers is required and called for. Best number 16 of 7.5. That's a very wide, full, long half volley that's cut away through point, and I think that's brilliantly brought back right on the edge. I was convinced that was going for a boundary, but it looks like they'll double check it, I think, but otherwise it'd be 3 to Angelo Matthews to complete the 38.
And Lawrence again, he's liking it. He's enjoying his start to his Test career.
I watched an interview with him on the Hussain and Key cricket show on Sky. And for a 23-year-old, he talks really well. I was really impressed by him.
If the opposite of inundated is undated, we've been undated with guesses about the Jimmy wickets. We've had very little.
Shall I give you number 200 then anyway? Try and move things on.
Where's
number 200.
Where's he? What's the clue, sorry?
An Australian.
Ooh. Ponting.
No.
Simons.
No. Give you one more guess. No. It was actually Peter Siddle.
Ooh.
Quarter slip in the second innings at Perth in 2010. England, of course, won that series, you'll recall, 3-1.
Yes, we did. Messrs Cook and Trott managed to... they put a few runs on the board, didn't they?
Yeah, well, the question we're all watching here avidly is whether Dan Lawrence scoops the ball back in front of the sponge before he touches the sponge, and I think his knee is in touch with the sponge before he flicks it back. It is a boundary.
Yep.
That is the first jingle I've heard all day, and that I can settle now. Now I can settle now.
So Knackle says Wood is being rested for the first 2 India tests. He's a big part of the T20 tests and has to be rested at some point. Sorry.
As Wood left alone by Chandimal outside the off stump through to Butler. Hey, so don't worry about talking over deliveries today, boys, because I can feel like I can catch up by saying it's all right, guys. There's just been 18 dot balls in a row. Without having to explain too much. So.
You've been watching too much T20, haven't you, Johnny?
I think I have.
Yeah. So England are telling Wood 1 big burst, then rest, which seems a fair way to manage him, especially with Archer and Stone available for India.
Yeah.
And the light roller says, I agree with messages. Tim Payne is getting the majority of the flack after the loss against India.
Wood in and just kind of defended horribly by Chandimal. It kind of hits him rather than him hitting it, and just out into the offside, and there's a little bit of oohs and ahs and whatever, but no harm done. Wood looking slightly disappointed. We have a change at the end of the over. Tony and I are staying on. We're losing Messi Jez, but we will be joined by Nestles.
He says lots of articles suggesting Pat Cummins should take over, which would be an interesting approach. And Leah tells us that meanwhile in Dhaka, Alzari Joseph is cementing his reputation as West Indies gun all-rounder with double figures and the only batsman with a strike rate above 100.
Wood in searing Yorker. I think it hits Chandimal on the toes, but definitely going down the leg side, and so not too much consideration, let's say, for a review, and certainly not going to be out or overturned. Alzari Joseph.
So before I go, Jono, just for you to think about a competition for everybody who buys a Woodstock bat, that each year, everybody who makes a century, a registered century with a Woodstock bat, goes in a draw, and one of them gets a refund on their bat.
Oh, I don't mind that one bit. That's quite a good. That's in by Wood, blocked back up the pitch by Dinesh Chandimal, right out the middle of the bat, showing the stickers. They're not Woodstocks, which is a.
I'd have sold that idea for about $100,000, and you've just given it away.
I was like, "Oh, Tony's going to be very disappointed."
It is a very good idea. Though.
It's a very good idea.
Too good to give away.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea, Jez. Yeah, and I'm glad that you cut Tony the middleman out
for my modest percentage.
Yeah, absolutely. I just saved a fortune as Wood in again, back of a length, and just defended quite calmly by Chandimal to the leg side for no run. Yeah, I do. I really like that. That's a really good idea. Yeah, that's.
And I mean, the free publicity is always the best bit, isn't it?
Of course, yeah. We've just picked up. We've got a couple of new pros playing for West Indies today, which has obviously been a great advert for the bats. One of whom though is Kieran Otley, who opened the batting, who got 20.
Could sell them second hand, never been used.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we can talk about this on our next stint, Tony. But I mean, I don't think the West Indies can be that much worse than anybody else in Test cricket. As Woods in completes is the 39th over with an in-swinging Yorker, but again calmly defended by Chandimal back up the pitch. We say thank you for now to Messi Jez as Nestlers joins us. Tony and I will carry on.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, mate. I'm passing the mantle, I think, to you, am I not, Tony?
Yes, you are, Johnny. And it is a good point, probably, to discuss a couple of things, seeing as we've been talking about Woodstock bats. Just a reminder, of course, that if you go to our website, you will find a gateway to the Woodstock store. Cricket bats, cricket gloves, helmets, other cricket equipment, soon to be an expanding range of other associated cricket gear. Highest
I like
quality.
the mallet.
The mallet, yes, the highest.
The mallet.
Not the mullet, as currently being sported by Colin de Gondram. The highest quality gear, and if you buy it, I quote the code GC Radio, our favourite code, as you all know, you'll get a 15% discount. So if you're a club cricketer out there, or indeed a pro cricketer, you probably get those for free. But
I don't play
all
cricket,
that gear
but I
is
might buy a
available.
mallet.
If you want a top quality mallet, you get it 15% cheaper, or 15% listener, supporter, follower, fan, community, whatever you want to call it, discount through our association with Jono and Woodstock via Guerrilla Cricket. So we're very happy to bring you that. Very, very excited by that partnership generally.
Absolutely. As are we. Yeah, we had a chat, didn't we, and thought our wonderful listeners deserved, the opportunity to access the arguably the best cricket gear in the world. That I didn't say that; it was my business partner that first came up with that. No, it's in all seriousness. Now, award-winning cricket bats and equipment, and it's our pleasure to get involved with the GC. Community, I guess.
Well, back at Galle, it's 108 for 3. Angelo Matthews is on 41, and his partner, the captain, Dinesh Chandimal,
Oh, what a dreadful shot that was.
Well, I think we're watching replays there. You've done an Agnew.
No, I know. Yeah. No, I could tell it was a replay because I know that both the current batsmen are right-handed.
Yeah, well, that's very sharp. Dinesh Chandimal on 17 is what I was about to say. Our friendly director from Sri Lanka is, of course, sending the drone out to monitor the fishing fleet.
Guess who's just out for 17?
Zari Joseph, I would imagine.
Indeed. Yeah. Thank you, Mayank.
Oh dear. Yep, no, we're watching the fishing activity. I don't think new Brexit rules extend as far as Galle, do they?
Yeah, absolutely.
But there we go. There's a lot of big smile on the face of Mr. Palagaruga. And apparently Mr. Palagaruga and Pragith Rambaguela both have their birthdays today.
Can I just say?
Yes, he does. 22nd of January. Goodness, he absolutely does.
Can I just say, Tony, you've absolutely nailed those names. Whereas Jez earlier, hearing him trying to say Karunaratne and De Silva was one of the funniest experiences I've had on Guerrilla Cricket.
I'm entirely sure if he had his teeth in, I think he'd put the top set on the bottom jaw and the other way round. But there we go. It's going to be Don Bess, who's he's just been working up quite a sweat, just warming up. In fact, he's warmed up to the extent where he's probably overheated. But he is going to take up the attack. He's going to be bowling to the steady rock. So far, that is Angelo Matthews, who's batted quite beautifully in very controlled, not spectacular, but effective manner. There's still a big smile on the face of Ruchira Palagaruga, enjoying the recognition for his birthday. And why wouldn't you? 108 for 3. We're in the 40th over. It's going to be bowled by Don Bess, whose right arm over. Matthews just leans forward and pushes it into the onside, and there is no run.
West Indies, something they can't prepare any worse than anyone else that goes to Bangladesh. Is it? Are they playing on wickets that have been prepared so much for Bangladesh to win these games, or what?
Bess in again. Bess in again, and forward comes Matthews again. Same place, same result. No run. I think the current trend, though, for very short preparations for tours, obviously compounded perhaps by the pure ability with bubble issues. Bess in, Matthews forward, kills the spin, and again for the third time, it's pushed to that fielder at mid wicket, and there's no. It means that. If you're really not used to playing ripping spin on a dusty track, and you compound that by not having sufficient practice before you actually go out to play, your first game is always going to be pretty tough.
Yeah.
And I think that we're seeing that. And for fourth ball in a row, this time we're not seeing a replay. We have literally seen 4 almost identical deliveries played in an identical way to the identical fielder on each occasion, to the power of 4. And it's still, as a result of it, 108 for 3. England do have that slip in place. This one is just pushed back. And who is that fielder at mid-wicket under the sun hat? Because having done 4 in a row, I think he would wanted to go for some sort of 6 in a row record. Because although Bess strolled across to field off his own bowling, he was in like a whippet to try and scoop it up. He's got his eye for all 6 in the over. I don't think he did. I think Bess got there first to rather spoil his party. Not that it's his birthday, but it is Mr. Palagaruga's. As onto the back foot goes Matthews. This is also away, but this time to deep mid-wicket. And they will get a single. And it will bring a single to Angelo Matthews, who will keep the strike. 109 for 3.
There raises a good point, in the sense that it is I won't use his exact phrase, but it's a young West Indies team, isn't it? It's an emerging team because a lot of their first choice players have decided not to travel.
Yeah.
One of the I was quite surprised by, there was one name, Shamar Brooks, who's decided not to travel on the Bangladeshi tour, which surprised me because he's still so young in his international career. I think it's a little bit brazen to go, I'm not going.
Yeah.
Because if someone comes in and does well, maybe he thinks with it being Bangladesh, the chance of someone coming in and going 100 is very unlikely. I don't know, but think Joshua Da Silva, who obviously I still speak to a lot, he said that he was well aware of the situation, that being so young in his career, he feels like he hasn't got a choice but to go if he wants to continue.
That's
to
true of any career.
learn and
if you
do
think
well.
about it. If your boss tells you, you got to do this job, you don't go, now I'm 21. I don't think I'll do that. You kind of do what you can, don't you? Mark Wood, to continue, we were questioning not him personally, but whether he was the wisest choice for this game. It's steered away down to long leg, be a single. Matthews will give Chandimal some strike, which he's probably grateful for, because he might have been in danger of nodding off at the other end there. Don Bess, the fielder, on that occasion.
I think Nestler's might have become very quiet.
Nestler's is uncanny when you commentate with him on
Just
Zoom.
stealthing.
He literally doesn't move. I tell you, Nestler's would make the best wildlife photographer ever, because no self-respecting woodland creature would ever even scent his existence. Well, he might scent it, to be fair, but they certainly wouldn't see it. As this one is beautifully driven through extra cover, that will be by Dinesh Chandimal. Quite a shot, and thoroughly deserving of this jingle.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, he leant into that beautifully, didn't he, Johnny?
Yeah, lovely shot. That balanced, lovely weight transfer. I'm very excited by that. It's just been dots, ones, or the occasional boundary, hasn't it? There's no real rotation of the strike. I suppose it's quite difficult. Don Bess is probably quite a tight line.
Yeah, tight but not threatening. And
yeah.
Mark Wood has looked to dig one in occasionally, and he's made them hot. But by and large, it's looked a decent track to bat on.
Pretty easy.
If you bat sensibly, which is what Sri Lanka have done, and this one's nicely flicked off his legs by Chandimal. There is a man down at
the fridge.
Wicket. It's the fridge, Mr. Sibley, who's got a point to prove in this game when his time to bat comes around. That was also we were watching that cover drive again, which was
glorious.
Just absolutely perfection. Right under his eye line, bat over the ball, head still, bat angled, and off it went in extremely stylish.
Right out the middle as well.
Yeah, a lot to admire in that. As Wood is in again, and having said there's not much to trouble them, he digs that one in, and Chandimal ends up prone on his backside, legs in the air.
There'll be a delay here. That's hit him straight on the Swede, I reckon.
Did it catch it? Well, yes, I think it must have done.
And then went straight to root at first slip.
He certainly was troubled by... It was one of those situations where it came on him so quickly he didn't know which way to duck. Do I duck forwards? Do I rock backwards? And the net result was he just turned sideways. Hopefully, I think we'd call that a glancing blow. I'll tell you what, he did very well to make sure his bat didn't crash into the stumps. Because he tends to fall backwards. Maybe when you see it from the side on angle, it's not quite so worrying. Mark Wood bent his back.
I mean, that's quick in slow motion.
That is quick in slow motion. But he turns his head, thank goodness, quickly enough that hopefully, touching all things wooden, you could describe it as a glancing blow rather than a full-on blow. Nestlers.
Tweets. Let's have some tweets.
Let's do that while he is checked over.
Leia says, I lost track of this innings 21.4 overs ago. Luckily, the ECB came up with the 100, so I can fully enjoy and understand the crickets, finally. Twas ever thus, Tony. Guerrilla cricket giving gold away for free since 2014. Leia wants to know when we're doing Guerrilla branded boxes.
Guerrilla branded what? Boxes?
Boxes. Cricket boxes. You put them down your trousers.
Oh,
boxes! Oh, boxes. Those kind of boxes.
What do you think? Cardboard boxes? Say, come on, you're cricket.
I'm with you. That's not a bad shout, actually. You'll have to speak to the commercial, technical facilities and every other department, dispatch department, who will
is there any,
be able to advise you on that.
Hairy growlers? Is that?
No, I think that's what you put in the box, isn't it?
Exactly.
Oh, I remember the days of the communal box when you started playing.
You know what? Two of you at once. That's a horrible thought.
Terrible.
116 for 3 as we speculate on Guerrilla branded boxes.
Mog is asking me if I'm familiar with the works of the Cardiacs. I'm not 100%. Yeah, I know who they are, Mog. I would ask why.
Full on off stump and beautifully played by Chandimal, who clearly seems to be showing no adverse effect because he played that very well and very calmly away into the offside. There's no run. Sorry, Nessus.
Spinner Grace is with us. Trevor Blackman asking us what ball. Should the ball be standard in all tests? They're using Kookaburra balls out there.
They are using Kookaburras in this series, yeah. Which is another reason why early swing and seam, and then perhaps not so much afterwards, is the order of the day.
Interesting question though. Should they use the same ball globally?
Not necessarily, because different balls are almost geared to different conditions, aren't they? If you look at,
but should they just say no, one ball?
It's an interesting thought, and it has been sort of posited before.
To do with the white balls and pink balls, though, they're all Kookaburras, aren't they? It's only the red balls where it's different. I believe. Obviously, we Dukes here. Everywhere else uses Kookaburra. And the Duke ball is obviously known to do a bit more.
Mark Wood's got the Kookaburra in his right hand as he comes right arm over, and Chandimal hurried up a little bit by that. But drops the ball at his feet, goes to forward short leg. There's no run. It's the end of another Wood over. Eventful, but no wickets.
I didn't know that about the balls. So in England, the white ball is a Kookaburra.
Yes, I'm pretty sure it. Although the Bears typing. And no doubt Knuckles furiously typing somewhere. Jono, you're wrong. If I have got it wrong. I was under the impression that certainly World Cups, everything else, it's Kookaburra is the white ball that's used. I think it's the same with the pink ball, but yeah, Dukes is the only one that. I think that the white balls and pink balls are very difficult to make like a consistency of, so I think they use just one brand. Unless I'm now proven to be wrong by the Bear.
West Indies use the Duke, don't they? With extra lacquer. India use the SG.
Yeah.
Don Bess is in. Gets a good bit of flight there. But it's well stopped at short mid-wicket. And there is no run.
There was talk, wasn't there, of everybody eventually going to a Kookaburra, I think, with a slightly more pronounced seam somewhere in the
that's the complaint about the Kookaburra, certainly by English bowlers who
didn't do anything.
As this one's pushed into the onside again, no run. The Red Duke seen as apparently too bowler friendly, which is why it went to Kookaburra. Certainly, that's true in English conditions. Sorry, the White Duke, not the thin White Duke. That was David Bowie, of course. As forward comes Matthews, pushes to cover. Was that Jack Leach in two hats there? It was indeed. So they seem to be sharing without Owen Morgan, who I think stamped his feet and goes, if there's a spare cap to be worn, I want to wear it. The test team seem to happily share that around. Actually, no, the man in two caps is Sam Curran.
Well, that just looks silly.
Just borrowed a pair of stupid sunglasses from Sheldon Cottrell.
Yes, he does look he's about to go skiing as opposed to...
Yes, he does.
What, in two baseball caps?
Well, it's more the wraparound sunglasses. Onto the back foot and whipped away to leg to mid-wicket. No run. 117 for 3. Chandimal on 23, Matthews on 44. This is a good, solid platform building partnership after Jimmy Anderson had helped himself to wickets 601, 602 and 603, left alone outside of off stump, that one by Chandimal. Joss Butler in the action.
You think Oakley changed their sunglass range every year?
I'm sure they do.
Just to put a different bit of plastic on it and call it like a sabre or something,
A sabre.
For 300 quid and everyone rushes out and buys one.
Last ball of this 10th over for Dominic of Bess. That one's carved straight to cover by Chandimal. There's no run. 117 for 3.
When I worked,
we'll pass back for some social media messages.
When I worked at a very large investment bank in the city that shall not be named, run by Sir Fred Goodwin, the wanker, that we had a marketing cupboard full of wonderful things for all the corporate events. And being in facilities management, I had the key to it. And towards the end, when everything was going pear-shaped, we went in there and pilfered it. And I walked out with a bunch of Oakley golf glasses. And
oh, did you? Oh, lovely.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we're due a change. Are we? In a minute.
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Is it 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, I read that completely. Oh, good. I thought. Well, it has gone quickly. It must be the company.
8:40, mate. Oh,
yeah, quite right. Yes, must be. I was about to say it must be the company because it hasn't necessarily been the cricket. It's been solid rather than exhilarating, yes. And that's no criticism. That's no criticism. I might point out. Theft. Wood is in and pulled past square leg. Fielded though quite superbly down there.
Get ready, Bear. I reckon that's. I think that'll be.
We may have to have another look at that because there is a possibility. Are we going to have to see the replay? Short from Wood and whipped away off his hip. And is it fielding?
Oh, forgive me, that's brilliant fielding.
Oh, super. That was a combination of the Fridge and Dom Bess. The Fridge was there. Dom Bess had his arm into, as if pulling out a beer. And it was a run saved by England. So good aggressive cricket by them. Short again, and this time is evaded Butler. I think it evaded everything. It'll be interesting to see if there was anything on
top
that.
Edge, I think, was it?
Was it a top edge?
I don't know. Possibly.
It's brought up the 50 though for Angelo Matthews. He's warmly applauded in the dressing room. We will have a jingle.
It's me, Sanshi. It's me, Sanshi.
And our Sri Lankan friend up on the fort, who was there keeping Randy Caddick company. Yes, he definitely got something on that. It was played with full intent, and it pitches just marginally short of that boundary sponge. It was a top edge, but safe indeed. One bounce and 4 runs it was.
He gave it away, didn't he, just after his 50, I think, in the first game. So
a 70 odd he made, I think. Did Angelo Matthews? He made 27 and 71. As this one is pulled again, but down to deep mid wicket. Our friend the Fridge does the fielding.
Messi just says you riff me for my pronunciation, yet you can't decide if it's Bowie or Bowie.
Well, that's
perennial question.
A perennial debate. 124 for 3.
That's also a massive nibble. Can we just clarify?
However, his son was called Zowie Bowie.
Oh God!
Or Zoe Bowie. Yeah.
Oh right.
But he's now called Duncan Jones.
Right.
In again comes Mark Wood, and that one very edgily indeed to short of Galle, but gets a round of applause from Joe Root. And Wood, who's, you could argue, hasn't had so much luck. That one, well, it was actually speared as if going down leg and took the pad and was away to Galle from there. But if had it been just left, it wouldn't have hit the stumps. So it was basically a very quick ball down leg. So Mark Wood, whilst he was looking exasperated as though he'd almost got himself a wicket there, I think he's slightly kidding himself. 124 for 3. Wood in again. Oh, that's a sharp ball. It clearly angered Wood because he dug that in. It did climb, and Chandimal has to duck underneath it, and through to Butler it goes. Bit of fire and pep, but as yet no successes for Mark Wood.
Yeah, he keeps running in and doing what the side need him to do. Question about. I really don't like the name of this series, the Moose Cup. It's not very Test cricket, is it?
Also, the trophy is a cricket ball with
moose's antlers, yeah.
Which I would imagine would make it, move in the air a fair degree, but possibly even throw it and come back to you. Who knows? It's 124 for 3. Mark Wood's generating some pace. It's very consistent this over. 141 for the first 3, 144 kilometres now for the last 2. A few black clouds starting to be seen over Galle there, as that one's steered straight to square leg. It's the end. Oh no, it's not the end of the over. Yes, it is. It's the end of that Mark Wood over. It's 124 for 3. 43 overs are complete. Nestlers.
The communal box is the classic example of a reusable resource, says the light roller. Oh dear.
India for an LBW.
Is it?
Have they?
Yeah, oh, his name escapes me.
I saw him raise his arm.
Yeah, they'd gone for it. I think Woods asked for some kind of LBW appeal.
We'll keep an eye on that.
Soft signal's not out, but
what's it? Let's have a look.
It's not a player review; it's a umpire review. Oh, he's absolutely smashed it.
It's a smash. Well, that's why it looked to me like a legitimate clip to leg.
Yeah.
Perhaps a slight hint of inside edge. So, what do they think they might have been appealing for?
I think he thinks it might have just hit the toe first, but that's a dreadful review.
Well, that's
although it's an umpire's review, it's not an.
And it's not out, as verified by Hannibal, the Linden Cannibal. Or what's his name? Hannibal, the third umpire. Linden Hannibal is the third umpire.
Pill's wearing off, Tone.
I was going to say my co-commentators both taking a fall this morning.
124 for 3. Well, that was a daft review. Don Best back into the attack, whipped away to mid-wicket, and there will be a sedate, leisurely time to dip your arm into your picnic bag and pull out an apple and some crisps and probably a glass of pop before they've completed that single.
As we turn into TMS.
That's 125 for 3. None for 23 so far for Don Bess.
A bottle of pop.
A bottle of pop. Well, it's early in the morning.
1931 or something.
Bess in again. Nicely, solidly forward by Chandimal. Away into the offside. Again, there's no run. Tight enough, economical enough, but definitely not threatening enough, I think, is how...
it's a bit of a worry, isn't
it? The spin department for England this morning.
Yeah, Jimmy's the only one. I know we're obviously missing Archer, Broad and Wokes, and obviously conditions aren't suited to them. But
listen again, down the track comes Chandimal. Has he got all of that? Oh, he has. He's absolutely larruped this over deep extra cover for one of these. Was there a jingle playing there? Okay. That's handy. Goodness me, he climbed into that. Whether he anticipated it or whether it was just... I think he possibly did, but he was a couple of skips down the track.
Also brings up the 50 partnership.
It does. Chandimal hold of that quite magnificently. And away it went towards that city end. Bess in again. This one does get a little bit of movement in. Yeah, very slow and gentle. Chandimal has ample time just to wait for it and push into the offside. There is no run.
Is there any adverse weather knocking about in Galle, Tony? I haven't checked today.
The forecast earlier looked really good as Bess is in. I think that might have just been turned into a full toss. They do have to run here, and they do take a very quick single. Having set off, they at least did the right thing. They didn't have an R, they stuck with it. But a direct hit might have been interesting, but they've got away with it. Matthews on 52, he had to fling himself in there. Yeah, I think he'd have been safe enough. But there wasn't time for dawdling, let's just put it that way. 132 for 3. Yes, forecast was set well for the day, but we are starting to see some afternoon cloud gathering. In comes Bess, whipped off his toes by Matthews, straight to mid-wicket. No run. We've seen that movie before on Don Bess's bowling.
Yes, absolutely.
No doubt about that. 44th over has been completed. 132 for 3. Nestlers.
There's lots of talk on Twitter feed about balls, so I'll leave it there. You can check it out yourselves. Leah says Duncan Jones also seems set to direct a Rogue Trooper film for the big screen crossed out digital distribution and Blu-ray.
Oh, right.
Knuckle reckons the umpires are wondering whether it was a catch. The ball squeezed out to short leg, but no, an obvious bump ball on the replay. It confused us all, that one.
It did rather.
Well, I was going to say, Wood just sort of really just kind of put his arm in the air. Didn't sort of really know why he had his arm in the air, I don't think.
Okay, our friendly drone pilot is which is not a very small man sitting on top of a sort of a flying saucer. I mean, presumably it's being done remotely.
The Gorilla
what happens with drones generally.
That's the idea of them, isn't it?
Yes.
132 for 3. That said, it's been bringing us some brilliant shots. I mean, I wake up at night wondering what the catch of the day is going to be as the fishing trawlers head off for the evening or back from their morning trawl.
You really need to sort out your sleep patterns if that's what's waking you up.
Well, it's when there's no Test cricket to listen to. The next best thing is to worry about what's the goal catch of the day going to be. 132 for 3.
Forecast on if you want.
Well, that's true. It's always a good listen. 132 for 3, and Chandimal is on 30. His partner Angelo Matthews on 92. This partnership has reached 50, as Jono said, and this one is full by Mark Wood, and he's fallen over.
Seems to be getting some reverse swing now, Wood. He seemed to target the stumps. It's obviously a full.
Well, I think he got some personal reverse swing as he flung himself through the air. I'm not so sure about the ball, to be honest.
It reminds me of my brother when he was 4. He just loved being dirty. He just spent time on his knees. But,
we'll have a look at that. His legs went from underneath him. Over went Mark Wood, and it was whipped away to the same spot in mid-wicket. Should get overtime, that mid-wicket fielder. That's nicely flicked off his legs. It's going to beat them field this time. There is a man down there. So, who is that? Jack Leach, I think. The throw comes in. Takes the score on to 134 for 3. What are we watching? Yeah, that was well short. And there's a big old gap there.
Well fielded actually to get round in this heat.
Yeah, he did
quite nicely.
But that clearly the field is set for with a short mid on and a square leg. There's plenty of space. This one is ducked underneath Wood, generating some pace, generating some aggression. You'd hope from an England perspective, potentially he's trying to soften these two up and make life easier for the spinners at the other end. It hasn't really worked so far because these two have really put on a fine partnership, from which, if I was Mickey Arthur and his troops, I would be hoping to go on and be looking at 270, 300 more perhaps.
I think they're just being patient, aren't they? If they can try and bat once.
Yeah, indeed they have. Wood's in once more. That one does climb on him and discomforts Chandimal, who shakes his right arm as he was all over the place in attempting to play that. He really did not play it well. But he played it well enough in as much as he got on top of it. That could easily have bobbled up to that man at short square leg, which of course is our friend the fridge. The fridge door was open, the light had come on, but nobody was reaching in to pull out the strawberries on that occasion. 134 for 3. I don't think I can take the fridge analogies any further. Wood's in, onto the back foot goes Chandimal, cuts it past point. There is a man off in pursuit. They take 1, they'll come back for 2. They won't look for 3, nor should they.
Fridge again
into Josh Butler. Yeah, he's been busy, the old fridge, hasn't he?
I mean, he has been reaching more for strawberries than cake in the last, since his Test career truly began, hasn't he? I think that's one of the things.
Well, yeah, it's been interesting how he does in the first innings. Here is going to be terribly interesting. I think we discussed Sibley's technique last time. We had quite a conversation. He's quite upright and quite stiff in his approach. Not necessarily ideal for playing spin bowling, though, and it'll be very interesting for him and his career to see how he proceeds. In comes Wood again, clipped off his hip nicely by Chandimal, down to deep backward square. They'll get another single. It will end that over. It will end my little spell, and it will bring back Hendo and the Bear. And I think Messi Jez, what a team, and I will see you after tea.
Thank you very much, Tony.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks, Tony. The Bear it is in the hot seat. I thought I was interested in that little fridge and that analogy. I thought it was quite good. Although the difference between cake and strawberries, I mean, I would tend to go for the cake first.
Well, I know that, Endo. Look at the size of you.
Also, isn't it a little bit odd that you would have your man, who's obviously short-sighted and has to wear steamed-up glasses, fielding at short leg?
It is a bit, but he's not quite in at short leg, is he? He's a little bit deeper. But still, is a bit of an odd choice to have there. I mean, generally it's been Crawley or Sibley who's been in there. So it does seem a bit weird. Oh, that's a lovely sight. The drone's high, way out to sea in case it decides to fall off. And Wood has now got an ice towel around his neck and is going in for a little break. That was quite a good spell, but he put a lot of effort. His pitch is pretty placid, though. There's not a lot of turn on offer on day one, and not a lot of bite unless your name's Jimmy Anderson. But then he has the nous and 18 years of Test cricket behind him, so that would explain that. And Chandimal's getting a bit of attention because that short one that did pop up that would have gone to a short leg had the short leg been actually in there, caught him on the thumb, which would be pretty painful, one would have thought.
Well, I mean, he's clocked him on the head or the grill. He's clocked him on the thumb. So to some extent, would have served a purpose, hasn't he? He may not have actually taken a wicket.
Yeah,
but he's roughed them up a little bit.
Well, he has indeed. I mean, that's what I mean. That's what he's there for. He's there to enforce. I mean, this is the one thing I think where where his Test career will never really progress or hasn't progressed is because he is a pure pace merchant. He doesn't really do much with the ball.
I think he's worked on that. I mean, there was in that spell he was getting a little bit of in swing.
Yeah.
What he couldn't get was the line. He couldn't get the line quite right. So when he was bowling in the swing, he was creating the swing. It's swinging onto leg stump and further.
Yeah.
And that was the problem. Getting clipped off his legs a lot.
Exactly.
Well, I think because pace is his biggest weapon. He concentrates more on that than he does on the line and loses a bit of it when he does.
Yeah, you could be right there. Well, Bess is around the wicket to Angelo, and he just defends it into the leg side and there's no run. And once again, England's spinners really haven't been able to create that pressure to get the dot balls and the maidens in that, might cause a mistake at the other end when there's some looser bowling going on from the pace bowlers. The line's often wrong as Bess is clipped out to square leg.
But am I right in thinking that Best has had 2 or 3 spells in this session alone? I don't think Jack Leach has been on in this session, has he?
I can't remember. I don't think so.
I think he had a short spell. I'm not positive. Hang on.
He bowled 7 overs, didn't he, before lunch? I don't think he bowled since lunch, to be honest. Seems a little odd. Especially with 2 right-handers out there.
Well, exactly, and it seems a bit odd that you have Bess on, exactly that. I'm not sure Root knows how to use spinners particularly well, I have to be honest. That's clipped out square on the leg side and there's no run. I don't think he trusts them particularly.
Well, I mean, Leach was moderately expensive, I suppose, 31 runs from the first 7 overs, but that doesn't mean you give up on him.
No, of course not. And having lost the toss, as Angelo just clips that out through a vacant mid-wicket, there's a square leg and there's a sort of wide mid-on. Maybe it's acceptable not to have mid-wicket, but I would have him there. And there's a single.
I'm thinking it may be that Root has decided there's not enough turn there, but he rates Bess as better at just holding up an end to give breaks to his other bowlers, I suppose. When you
possibly, but I would.
The Currans.
Well, that's a very defeatist way of going about it. If you can't use spinners as an attack weapon in Sri Lanka, where can you?
Well, it's true, but if you're expecting vicious spin on the first day and it isn't there, the surface is actually, quite placid, as the Bear says.
Defended back down the track and there's no run. I mean, let's face it. Sri Lanka won the toss and they decided to bat, and this is precisely why, because presumably the pitch starts okay and then breaks up and becomes unplayable towards the end of the game with a bit of luck. And cracks up horrendously and spits and turns and does all sorts. Defended out into the covers and there's no run. Therefore, score your runs in the first innings, which is what they, completely failed to do in the last test.
But that said, they managed to perform well in the second innings when you would have thought the pitch was breaking up a little bit more. But it was a different kind of pitch. It didn't just break. I mean, you could see it going through the top on the first day and certainly by the second day from the spinners. And this is nothing like that at all. It isn't. But the top at all.
But the one thing about the pitch last time, there wasn't much up and down. There was a lot of prodigious turn, but there wasn't much kick sort of vertical and all that kind of stuff that you get sometimes on a breaking pitch. It was quite predictable, even though it was exaggerated. And so once you got in, plus, as I said, I don't know if you were on day 3, I was excoriating Leach and Best because they were just bowling too short all the time. And on a slow pitch, they were able to get on the back foot a lot to the spinners on day 3, I think it was. And we let them get away in that respect, and they got a big first innings, and we didn't really put any pressure on it. If you're a spin bowler on a track that's turning, you've got to be able to bowl maidens or 1 and over and just put some pressure on someone. That's what you're there to do on a pitch that's offering you assistance. And if you're offering,
talk of the devil, Jack Leach is on to bowl.
Well, I'll give him a jingle after his first ball. He's going to bowl to Angelo Matthews. He's on 53 off 96. Chandimal's 36 off 67. It's 139 for 3 after 46 overs. The Sri Lankans, first ball, he just props forward and defends, and I shall give him a jingle.
Coming up, here's a face that I know. It's Jack Leach. Now coming up.
Prop forward does Angelo, defends back to the bowler, no run.
On Jack Leach.
Yeah, and that was the thing. We kind of let them get away on day 3. We let them get themselves back into the match, and it was actually quite poor bowling. I thought they defended by attempted drive by Matthews, doesn't really get hold of it, and Leach dives to his left and fields off his own bowling.
Well, it's arguable that Bess's major failing today was he didn't bowl enough shit balls to take wickets.
Well, he bowled enough shit balls, they just didn't take wickets. I mean, the problem with Leach is he bowls too many short balls. I think defended back down the track by Angelo, and there's no run. I mean, I always think you're better off being driven as a spinner than having someone cut you, because you can set a field for that. You want to try and draw the batsman forward, and generally if they're driving, they're at least coming forward. The pitch is very slow though, and there's not a lot of margin for error on length. As Matthews proves there, that wasn't too short, but he was able to just nip onto the back foot and try and punch it through the offside. Couldn't get it past mid-off, and there's no run. 1 ball left and he over. Leach, see, that's a little bit too short, and Matthews gets on the back foot, tries to punch it once more, but can't get it past cover. No run.
I tell you what, sorry, go on.
No, that's it.
Go, Messi.
Go.
What I don't get is the fact that Best it's 32 degrees, 65% humidity. It feels like 38. He's wearing a vest underneath his shirt.
No, Messi. Those are those special vests, aren't they? They're the vests that you wear. I don't know what material they're made out of, but they're supposed to keep you warmer when it's cold and help you expire when you're too hot. Perspire, not perspire.
Expire, die.
Let the warmth evaporate. Evaporate is the word I'm looking for.
Let the sweat evaporate.
Right.
What I also don't get is Leach is wearing a fucking. I mean, they're both wearing long sleeves. Are they chuckers? That's clipped into the leg side, and out to square leg for 1 run. I mean, there's quite a few players seem to be wearing long sleeves. If it's 35 degrees sunny and 60% humidity, why on earth are you wearing long sleeves? Shirt.
I don't know. I can't answer that one.
Sunburn? I don't know.
Well, put some bloody sun cream on. Around the wicket is Bess, bowling to Angelo. It's too short again, and he quite easily clipped that through the leg side.
I mean, he's not really bowling for a wicket there, is he? I mean,
no, he's not at all.
He's bowling to stop the single, or maybe if he's lucky, snap him up at leg slip, which is really the only way that the batsman can play that. He's not going to be able to get inside that line and force it into the offside.
Ideally, you see, if I was him, I would be bowling over the wicket, fullish outside off stump, not at the stumps. That one, a couple of skips down the track from Angelo, bunts it up to Anderson, who's at long on, and he'll get a single. And just try and get him onto the front foot and defend it.
The thing is, if you are going round the wicket and you're trying to spin it back in, okay, there's not a lot of spin, but you're trying to spin it back in, you want the option of going across him, the one that doesn't turn, to try and find the outside edge.
Well, yeah, but you generally only do that if there's a prodigious turn in the first place, and for precisely that reason, because the stop ball should turn, and then if you've got one that you can undercut, then it will go across. Best bowls again. It's just not turning, and so it sits up. It's too short, and he gets clipped out to mid-wicket. It's a single off virtually every ball this over so far.
Yeah, at the moment there's really no point in the orthodox slip, is there? Because everything is pitching on leg or outside leg.
No.
It's a wasted position to some extent.
I think Bear is dead right about root and spinners and just having to put up with them rather than wanting to bowl them.
Well, I think if he had a really good one who he trusted, I think he'd bowl him a lot more. I think if Moen was playing, he'd probably get more overs. That's defended into leg side. There's no run, but he's a known quantity to Ruti.
Yeah.
I don't think he has a. I mean, I think he's been lumped with Best, and Best is probably one of the best options we got. Plays at Somerset, bowls on a turning wicket, but he's young, inexperienced. See, that's kind of where I'd be bowling. I'd rather he was playing up there, up to long on. He takes a couple of skips down the wicket. There's Matthews. And there'll be a single, but with no turn, it's and a confident batsman who's on 55 at home on a wicket he knows well. It's not going to be easy.
Leah says, if there were no Test cricket to listen to, I'd probably be listening to trashy German splatter audio dramas right now. Yes, those are a thing, and yes, they can be quite sleazy. I think I'll steer clear of that. The Light Roller says, my week court is being honoured once again by the so-called Liberal Australian government. Standing by as Cardinal George Pell, Rolf Harris and Prince Andrew. We'll go no further with that one. Adelaide Barmies having a few beverages, listening to Gorilla Cricket at the Ellie pub. Excellent. We love free Wi-Fi and Bluetooth speakers. They look like they're having a good time, and they are indeed drinking beer.
God, they can go to pubs. Isn't that a novelty?
Yes.
Leach is going to come in to bowl. See, that's fair enough. If you're not going to get any spin, you might as well bowl there. Draw him onto the front foot. Let him defend on the offside. He's got to make a choice on a shot at some point if he wants to score runs.
Well, if you're not turning it, you've got to try and use your flight to keep the batsman guessing, haven't you?
Absolutely.
And he's a bit too flat, isn't he, at the moment, Leach?
Yeah,
that's better.
That's better. Driven at, and it goes out to mid wicket. They do go for the single. Fielder's not quick enough out, and it's a poor throw, so they get through for what turns out to be quite an easy single.
A good friend.
That's the mid wicket on the offside, is it, Bear?
What cover? Got to have a cover.
Our good friend Rog Pineapple's been in touch. Says, why haven't you mentioned that the batsmen are in caps yet? It's a very good point.
Well, this is very true. I did mention that, Rog, actually in the last innings when England were facing up to endless spinners. That's driven at. Good bit of fielding by, I don't know who that was at mid-off, someone in a hat, and he stops it from getting a single. I did mention that in the last innings, that precisely that fact, Rog, that if there's, I think Sita Fernando ended up taking some wickets right at the end, but they pretty much bowled spin the entire rest of the innings. Clipped into the left side by Angelo, and he'll get himself another single. And England's batsmen refused to wear caps. They were all in helmets, and I'm like, it's really hot. Why are you wearing a helmet? You're only facing spinners.
Yeah, but I think you kind of get used to a certain weight on your head, or lack of weight on your head. I can understand it once you've got the helmet on, that you don't want to change anything. Maybe it's a slight superstition.
Possibly. Into the legs of Chandimal, who tries to work it around the corner. There's a man on the 45, which is a pretty decent position if you're going to bowl that line. And he stops.
Adelaide Barmies on tour. Says on tour. Dave and Sue just turned up with a tour shirt. The Adelaide Barmies tour shirt, which is looking splendid.
We met an Adelaide Barmy or two, didn't we? In Ireland, wasn't it? Defended into the offside, and there's no run. When we did the Pakistan test, they were in that pub. I'm certain of it.
So did we not give them our Pakistan autographed bat? I have a feeling we did. Maybe that ended up in Adelaide.
Maybe it did. I can't remember. Yeah.
I think there was quite a lot you didn't remember that night you all went down the pub.
Well, I think we were actually down the pub almost every night. So
yes.
as I recall, it was quite good fun.
That was a very good little excursion for guerrilla cricket. That was.
God, 2.5 years ago now.
I know.
Really?
Yeah, and I lost all my pictures because my phone just died a few months back, and all the pictures I'd got from Ireland had disappeared. Apart from the ones that I posted on Facebook, have all gone.
Oh no!
Lost to the.
Speaking of which, if Roger's getting in touch with us on Twitter, is he resurfaced? Is he all right, Rog? I hope you're well.
Yeah, Rog, come and do a bit of commentary. Surely you've got a good enough internet connection.
Get back on the horse, as it were. I'm commentating. Clipped. It was outside leg stump from Best, who's around the wicket, bowling at 57 miles an hour. So he's bowling pretty flat. and it was clipped to square leg, and there is no run. I think
it's just
go for it after this ball. Say what you're going to say, Hendo. That's a little too short, funnily enough, and Angelo's on the back foot, punches it out, but to a wideish mid-wicket who's up. I think there's a longer one down, is Anderson.
Yeah, it's purely containment at the moment, although they're not actually doing that brilliantly either.
No, they're not really containing, that's the problem. That's what I mean, it's about dot balls, and if you're going to contain, it's about dot balls.
Yes.
Going for one and over or bowling a maiden. That's a better ball, and a line of about middle and off, and Matthew goes across, covers and defends it into the onside, and there's no run. But there's just not enough consistency, is there, in the length of the delivery or the line?
I mean, he wants to be bowling 4 balls like that last one.
Yeah,
really,
precisely. Exactly that. And then if you get those 4 balls, maybe try a little bit of flight dip or something slightly different to try and challenge him. Clipped. That wasn't a bad ball, but Matthews came down, didn't get all of it, and played it straight to the wideish mid-on. The other thing is to go back to Jimmy. He's bowled 4 overs after lunch, and we've got 10 minutes before tea.
Is Jimmy down to play the first 2 tests in India?
I'd imagine so.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I reckon they'll manage him very gingerly.
Clipped again to mid-wicket, and there's no run. I mean, the bowlers out there they'll have Wokes, they'll have Burrell, they'll have Anderson, they'll have Jofra, and probably have Sammy. Sammy Curran, is he in the first 2 tests or out the first 2 tests?
Do you know, I can't remember. I'd have to double check.
I thought he was one of the ones.
He's out.
He's out. He's one of the ones coming home.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a filthy ball.
And frankly, I don't think he'll be missed, to be honest.
No, he won't. There was a full toss, but Angelo just punches it up to long on. So there was only 1 off that over. That's not too bad. I can handle that.
Yeah. Well, they're going at very nearly 3 and over, aren't they? Which is, on a first day of a test. I mean, you extrapolate that out to the 90 overs in the day, and you're looking at 270 for 5 or something like that. I think they'd be reasonably satisfied with their day's play, wouldn't they?
Oh, that's a point. Have a look at the GPL.
Particularly if they get 273, which is one of my GPL picks.
Of course, had to end in a 3. I was just about to check the GPL. Hombre Nuevo and you are the only people in it. Hombre Nuevo 227 and 267. I had a chat with Hombre Nuevo yesterday. He's going to do some T-shirt designs for us, text ones.
Oh, brilliant!
So I'm going to send him 3 quotes,
right?
And he's going to have a go at it. He did say he hadn't been working, and then suddenly he was having a job interview today. So that's typical. Offer us some free time, and he gets offered a job. Which is good for him, not so good for us possibly. Played off the back foot by Chanderman, I presume that. No, because Matthews got a single at the end of the last over, yes. Out to the cover boundary where it's fielded, and they'll get themselves a single. I mean, Leach is going at 3.5 and over here, nearly 4 and over.
Well, actually, he's only gone for 3 runs since he came back on.
Yeah, driven up past Leach, can't field off his own bowling, up to long off, and there's a single.
Yeah, he went for 31 of his first 7 overs, the first spell of 7 overs. He's come back and he's 2.5 overs into a new spell, and he's only conceded the 4 runs. So he's doing the job in this spell.
I think he's a better.
So much in the first.
I think he's a better bowler than Bess.
I agree.
Oh, absolutely.
Just a fraction too short. See, there's so little margin for error on these wickets. That Chanowell can just clip him from the crease out square on the leg side, and there'll be a single.
Well, I blame Jono. He was complaining about the slowness of everything when he came on, and it was 2.7. It went up to 3.1 by the time he finished, and now it's coming back down again. So it was entirely him that increased the scoring rate for that period.
I mean, I think Rooty might have factored in Moeen into this side as well, and I think that put a little bit of a spanner in the works.
Yeah.
Chandimal is facing up to Leach. Comes down the track and drives. There's always a single down a long off though. I might try and block that up, mate, and go over the top possibly. Bring him up far enough that you can stop the single, but he's still got to get it over the top of him.
I think that would be a good call. Yeah, I mean, okay, if they start going over the top and they start getting away, and
then you can drop him back again, can't you?
Yeah, exactly.
And once more, you see, it's just driven down to long off, and it's a single every time. It's like an ODI almost.
Yeah. It's boring middle overs.
Exactly. 151 for 3 after 50.5 overs. Should get
Yeah,
a couple
it's
more in.
you're right. I think Root doesn't. I mean, I can understand that if you don't entirely trust your spinners, you are going to be a bit reticent.
And it also doesn't help the spinners, I would imagine, as well. They probably feel a bit nervous. That's a decent ball, and it's defended by Chandimal to end the over. Matthews will face the first ball next over on 69 out, 151 for 3.
Right, let's catch up with tweets. Knuckle says, this line can be deadly if the ball's turning and bouncing. Ashwin had a lot of success with it in Australia, but this so far seems a very true pitch, and in any case, Best doesn't get nearly as much action on the ball as Ashwin.
True.
He and Leach just need to be more patient and plug away. Mog says, is it just me, or has the Bear recently become the world's leading expert on spin? No, he's always been that, Mog, don't you know? Ravi says, doesn't the ECB insist that batsmen wear helmets at all times?
No, kids, yes.
Question kids, I think, yeah. The Beijing Ducks Cricket Club is with us. It says something about their tactical comment. They're having a little discussion with Knuckle. Splatty, you say, says Mog to Linux Lear, are they in German? Well, I presume they are. She says yes to both.
That one, as Best continues around the wicket and Matthews continues bunting him up to long on for another single. What is splatter?
German splatter dramas, I think, is what Lennox Lear was talking about.
Extraordinary violent. Is it kind of like everyone gets?
Sounds
splattered?
like Jay Grover's sort of thing to me.
Well,
definitely.
That's
definitely.
tentacle porn. I don't know if it's porn. Is it porn splatter?
I certainly hope not. I really do.
Don't let's go there.
Yeah, let's not. Well, I don't know. Chandimal could be quite entertaining. Chandimal is facing up to. They're just getting a run everywhere, aren't they? Fucking ridiculous. Every time they just drop it and run, and they've done the same again. Chandimal moves on to 42.
Well, Chandimal is one of the most attractive Sri Lankan batsmen to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, when he first burst onto the scene, I mean, he was a very quick scorer, even in Test cricket. I mean, he slowed down a lot. He's had to try and rein his natural instincts in, and he failed to do it in the first innings of the first Test.
I mean, who's next? Is it Dick Weller next?
Could be. It could be Dick Weller or the new guy, Ramesh Mendes.
Oh yeah, he's supposedly got an average of 50, isn't he? That was clipped into the leg side, no run that time.
Well, he's got a top score. He's got a top score of 300 not out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Cricket Info have Dick Weller down next.
Yep.
Bess around the wicket, clipped into the leg side, out to deep mid wicket, and there is a single.
Do you know what? I think your boring middle overs analogy is actually a really good one.
They've got a field set for boring middle overs as well.
Nobody really cares as long as they don't score too many per over. And that's
a bit defeatist.
Really not a great way to approach it.
No, I mean, I think I'd probably have a mid-wicket. They seem to be clipping it through. I mean, fair enough, they're good batsmen. They might manoeuvre it through. But, I mean, it's always... You see, the mid-wicket is actually there now. And that's Lawrence. And there is no run at time. I'd have a mid-wicket. They've got a kind of square leg and a wide mid-on, which leaves the gap. And if you're coming around the wicket, the angle just says, screams, hit me through the gap.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
But you've got to plug the gap. So, you know, that goes out to that position that that's pretty much where I'd have my mid wicket, and I'd probably have a mid on as well, and a man.
So you get your mid wicket a bit squarer than he is.
I'd have my mid wicket a bit squarer. I'd have a man behind square. I'd have a guy. If I was trying to plug the runs, I'd probably have a straighter mid on than they've got, and I might not have him out long. I might try and sort of halfway house it and try and stop him from running the single unless they want to go really hard and have to take a risk. And if they want to go, over the top, if they want to go over the top. No. You know, I'm an off spinner. I'm bowling over I've got international batsmen who like clipping through the leg side. If they want to do that, and I'm bowling quite straight, that's obviously where they're going to play it.
There's no danger involved for them. There's no jeopardy.
And exactly.
At all.
So then you might want to offer them. If you bowling quite straight, you might offer them the gap at cover rather than mid-wicket. So they've got to play against what isn't a lot of spin at the moment, but at least, you know, open the face of the bat and maybe bring a little edge into the equation as well, because there's less of a bat to hit.
Yeah, I'd like to see them floating it up outside off stump a little bit more, I have to say. Frong says, why not get Curran back on and tell him to make this up his pace? So it's not going to happen before tea, because this will be the last over before tea.
It will.
With Jack Leach to bowl it.
Indeed. And he's going to come around the wicket. And that's a decent ball. Floated up, on about, off stump, funnily enough, and pretty full with a bit of air. And Angelo's just defends it back to the bowler. And over.
I still don't think they're not tempting enough at the moment, are they?
No, I mean
even the ball that's tossed up is tossed up enough.
No,
you need to bowl one really slow, loopy delivery to just make their eyes light up a little bit.
Absolutely, and that's clipped to mid-wicket. Who fields it? My strategy whenever I bowl was to try and bowl the first 2 overs. I've never tried to think about really taking a wicket. It's all about getting in the groove, and basically I just didn't want to go for runs, or only 1 or 2 runs on my first 2 overs.
Well, I suppose that's understandable when you're just trying to settle down.
Exactly.
But when you're into a spell,
yeah, but that gives you the groove, and then you found a spot. You see, that's played off the back foot out to cover, and there's no run. Then your shoulder warms up, and then you're prepared to give it a little bit more air, or try something a little bit different.
Yeah, but it's almost as if they're bowling their first 2 overs over and over again.
Well, precisely. Defended up to mid-on. Mid-on's up now, you see. And I think Sammy Curran tried to dummy him there, like it run through his legs. He turned around and started running. Weird.
Dave Wood wonders whether I accidentally deleted 400,000 DNA records when my phone died.
Yes, this government is a fucking clusterfuck. Back foot too short this time by Leach. There'll only be a single out to a man sweeping on a boundary. Sibley. And it'll be interesting to see how Sibley bats in this test, won't it? I mean, I think a lot of us think he's going to be troubled by spin.
Well, he has been troubled. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And he struggled even when he first came into the side, even when he wasn't playing on the subcontinent. I mean, I think possibly in his first innings he was out to spin.
That's a decent ball by Leach, just defended. Out to mid-wicket. That ends the over, ends the session. It's tea, 155 for 3. Sri Lanka feel reasonably happy.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, actually, they've started both sessions poorly, haven't they?
Yeah.
They lost 2 early wickets. They lost a wicket in the first over after lunch. And then they've recovered pretty well. 76 for 2 by lunch. Another 79 runs in this session for the loss of that wicket. And England haven't really looked dangerous. I mean, the only time they have is when Wood has been clocking Chandimal, to be honest. It's more of a physical battle than a skillful.
Or when Jimmy's bowling, and I presume Jimmy will come on straight after tea.
Well, you would think so, wouldn't you? And maybe Curran as well for maybe 3 overs each or something like that. And really, they've really got to hope that they can get a couple more breakthroughs, because once the batsmen have got in, whether it's at the beginning of play or after an interval, they've looked very comfortable.
Yeah, they have. And that's the thing. If England can get a couple of breakthroughs, you might, if you get through one of these 2 and the next guy, Dick Weller, maybe one more wicket gets you through to the weaker batsman, and you're over. Well, you're halfway there, aren't you? So. Well,
you'll be bowling. I mean, either after the next wicket goes down or after 2 go down, you'll be bowling to a man making his debut.
Yeah.
And that's.
A good comment from Dan de Castro. Once again, kudos to Sri Lanka. Lose a wicket and then recover like at the beginning of the innings. In fact, Sri Lanka have done so good, the consensus bookies odds equate to about this. Sri Lanka win 53%, England win 28%, unlikely, draw 25%, bookie profit 5%.
Bookie profit, that's the most important thing. Let me get through the finals tweets before we take a little break.
You've frozen on us, Hendo. Oh dear.
Wouldn't imagine ball.
Your internet's gone weird. Oh well, we seem to have lost Hendo. He's merrily saying your tweets into the ether, into his living room.
He was just reading Knackle's tweet, which says, "I wouldn't imagine Broad and Anderson will play at the same time. England will want 2 spinners and Archer, which leaves only space for a seamer. So the bowling attack is Anderson / Broad, Archer, probably Moeen and Leach, and Stokes with Root as a fill-in." That's a hell of a lot better than we got right here, isn't it?
Well, it is. I would go that way as well. I mean, I would prefer Moeen, and if you're going to go with Moeen, then you want the left-hander as the opposite spinner, which puts Bess on the sidelines. Hendo's disappeared. I think his internet's gone down. So we shall take you back to the end of today's interview, which was with the ACE programme. It was a very good interview, and you can enjoy the rest of it now. There's 18 minutes left, which is nearly tea, and maybe you'll get to hear the very end of it when I post it on YouTube. I'm sure I'll play it again throughout something anyway. So here we go.
Get him to do a demo. He's definitely going to bowl it better than and hit the ball better than I am or some of the other coaches. So it's it's very very aspirational piece as well. So yeah. Excited for him to be involved.
That is fantastic. So let's we talked about the challenges, and let's just sort of look at one or two of those and see where and how ACE is starting to make a difference. I mean, one of the things that often comes up is that lack of role models. If a generation tends to move away. I know there was when we spoke to Rodney Hines recently, who's the sports editor of the Voice. I think in 2019 there were 9 black players across the 18 counties. In 1995 it was 33. That's an alarming decline. If I look at my own county, I'm a Middlesex man, even though I now live in Surrey. Don't shoot me. But I did practically used to live next to Lords. In my defence, you can take the boy out of Middlesex, but you can't take Middlesex out of the boy, as they say. But if I look at Miguel Cummings, fantastic addition, I thought, to the Middlesex squad. Now, potentially, he's going to have to jump through a whole set of hoops if he wants to be able to stay in that. As we talk right here today, that situation is uncertain. So not only do you have a challenge in getting great role models, when one arrives who has all of the attributes to become one, there's obstacles in his way. Is there any influence that can be brought to bear there in the context of the aspiration of supporting African Caribbean interest?
Yeah, it's the role models piece is a big thing. It might seem small for some people, but it's actually quite big. If you're growing up as a young child, and even your parents, the parents seeing this, if you're not seeing any people that look like you, sound like you, move like you, just have the same experiences to you, if you're not seeing that within a certain environment, you're not going to be attracted to it. So there's no surprise that the numbers have dropped massively in cricket, but you've seen now in football there's always examples of young players coming through and getting opportunities and playing for England, and stars of their club. So for young children growing up, they're going to see that and they're going to be gravitated to that, and now you're seeing it more so in rugby as well. There's many black players playing in rugby at the clubs and for England too. So the awareness of that is huge, and I think for us, one of the things that we're trying to do for the program, which we've been quite good at so far, is getting that awareness out there, and coming on Guerrilla Cricket and others, other media platforms helps with that, raising the awareness and just showing. We film a lot of our sessions and we put it out there on our Instagram page and stuff. And we're working on a bit of a behind the scenes documentary at the moment. Through Ebony's media connections, we're quite fortunate that we've got some key people working on that, and we've got working on some aspirational videos to put out there, just because we want to be able to put content out there where young people and their parents can see it and be like, okay, yes, cricket is actually something for me to be involved in and play in, and I think that it just hasn't been that, and like where other sports have benefited, and you look at athletics as well, for years there's always been sprinters, shot putters, javelin throwers, cyclists. There's an awareness there. So naturally, if you see people that look like you having success, being involved in programs, then you're going to be gravitated. If you don't see anything, you're not going to think, well, actually, should I play cricket? Is that for me? I don't see anyone else that looks like me playing. How am I going to feel with being in that environment? So we want to change that narrative, and hopefully we can do that. And the role models help. And going back to the point we said about the ambassadors and the patrons we've got, they help with that as well. Just their profiles, and like I said, we've got Jofra Archer and Chris Jordan, and then Jofra Archer, arguably one of the most spoken about names in cricket worldwide. So having that profile is huge for the program, and we feel by doing those kind of things we'll be able to attract new existing and players who maybe have stopped playing, thought they played for a bit, didn't feel it was for them, and hopefully we can get them back into playing as well.
One of the things I've heard levelled at cricket, certainly cricket in England, is it hasn't always been that welcoming to, dare I say it, non-white communities. You know, if I look at, you know, the problems John Holder has cited, if I look at Rafiq in Yorkshire, clearly there is the supporting and there's that side, and there is the playing side. We'll talk a little bit about how, for example, the Cricket Supporters Association and yourself are kind of tackling a similar problem from different aspects. Yours very much on the playing and participation side, theirs on the spectator side. But is that a problem that's genuinely there? And by doing what you're doing, can the ACE programme really be a key part in shifting attitude as well as getting that participation? I know the two things go hand in hand, but you clearly have the opportunity and are part of creating an attitude shift actually in the game, as well as to bring people in from outside it. The two must go hand in hand.
Yeah, you know, and just like you said, there's you know, changing behaviors and shaping attitudes. That's what we were, you know, it's sad that cricket is like that for, you know, for the best part of how many years in this country. And I can give you a personal example. I remember I went to a few years ago. We had a national conference at Lords. Over 200 people in the room for one of their programs. All the kind of senior management within cricket, from Cricket Scotland down to Cricket Plymouth. You know, and I walked into this room and I looked around and I was just like, wow, is there any other black people in here? There's not many. Where's the Asian people? You know, where's the women? Where's the Asian women? Where's the black women? You know, it's just like, you know, unfortunately, cricket is predominantly dominated by old white men, and you know, a lot of the thoughts and the processes.
He says, talking to an old white man.
Yeah, I know. And I don't mean that by any offense, but it's just the reality of cricket in the in the country, that all the senior management, you know, across all the county boards was predominantly, you know, I'd say 90 to 95% white men, and you know, and it's just trying to diversify that and trying to change that. And through this program, we would want to do that. And you know, even on the spectator side, you know, like I said, through you know, being based at the Oval, the charity's based, and obviously the history to Surrey, you know, we've always been in conversations that, you know, when the West Indies would come in, this, like, the summer just gone, you know, what we was putting our kind of feel on what that might look like for fans. And you know, it's sad that you go back to, you know, the Oval used to be a heartbeat of having, you know, a big history of West Indian fans coming in, you know, because there's a real connection there. You have the music, you know, the food, everything else, and you know, the same Oval that embraced that community was one of the first the first grounds to stop allowing, you know, the music to come in, you know, for fans and stuff like that. So you know, and over time, then you see, you know, the Barmy Army, you know, developed, and you know, the trumpet guy and everything else, and it's like, well, you know, you stopped that for one community, now you've allowed it for another. And you know, in recent times as well, you got the Barahat Army comes in with the drums, and it's a fantastic atmosphere, you know. And the Bangladesh fans, when we had the ICC Champions Trophy and World Cup and stuff, you know, it's massive. And now it's just trying to, unfortunately, by stopping a lot of the black British community who were supporting the West Indies, coming in with the conchs and the horns and the music and everything else, he lost a lot of people. You know, people thought, well, I can't go to the cricket and be myself and enjoy it, so they end up stop going. And I guess that's filtered through on the spectator side, and hopefully, you know, through programs, you know, like ourselves and others, and you know, like you mentioned, we can get more fans coming in and making them feel like, you know, that the Oval and other county grounds and are places for them to watch cricket and enjoy. And regardless of whether it's, you know, the other thing is, I don't want it just to be, well, West Indies are here, so let's get all the black people involved to watch cricket. You know, let's be encouraging the communities to watch it all the time, because a lot of especially the young children, they're British. You know, a lot of them have never been to the Caribbean. You know,
and that comes back to the role models that they can look up to actually playing the game.
Like we got a young scholar on our program. His favorite player is Joe Root. He loves Joe Root, and he's not. We're kind of managing his expectations. You're never going to get to play to that level of Joe Root, but actually we found over this process he's really good in front of the camera, really good speaking on camera, and you might get to in a year or 2 years time you might actually interview Joe Root, and that is actually a realistic opportunity that we can develop through some of the media channels and links that we have. So it's just trying to empower the young people where we can, and these children their influences are British, their culture, a lot of them is British, and it's just trying to make sure that even if it's England against Australia and New Zealand, we're doing what we can to encourage more young black people to come into places like the Oval to feel like they can watch cricket and have a good time.
Well, let's just come on to for a moment, if we may, a couple of things which probably aren't at the centre of the remit of what ACE does, but ACE must, I guess, ultimately somehow seek to impact. One is the cost of sport. Now, I'm not an economist, but I do know, having two sons who have played the game, one very much still does. Cricket bat can cost you up to £1,000. Not to mention all the kit, and if you play for a club, you've got the shirt sponsorship on the shirt and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's an expensive game to play. Something like 22% people living in challenged circumstances in the UK. I might venture that inner cities, and therefore some of the communities you're looking to attract, perhaps over-index where those challenges are. Is there anything that you can do to somehow enable them to get them started with kit, with equipment? Because otherwise the risk is it continues to be a white man's game for people who went to public school, right? And somehow we have to break that. And kit and equipment is actually a big part of that. So is there anything ACE can do on that front?
Yeah, as part of our scholarship program for the children on our academy, we have bursaries in place to cover equipment if required, travel expenses if required. So we've got funding in place to cover all those costs. And like you said, cricket is an expensive game. Bats now are like £400, some of them, and or maybe more. And that's a holiday. You get two of them. There's your grand alone. The helmet that can cost up to nearly £100, and the boots and the pads and the gloves. It's very, very expensive sport. So we do have funding in place to mitigate against those costs, and that will be an ongoing thing. And some players need more assistance than others, and some don't. But it's also just creating a safe place for parents and players to feel like they can ask us for support financially if they do need it, because some people are proud and they don't want to see that they're asking for help or a handout here or there. But we do have the funding in place to support that if players do require any additional support. So we've got funding in place for equipment and travel, etc., and anything really that if they can't really afford that they need.
Well, so Chevy, even on issues like affordability of equipment, which is such a big challenge to participation and inclusion, it sounds like your charitable status and the plans you have in place are set to overcome that. We talked about black people feeling more welcome at games, and it sounds to me as though the cricket world, you're pushing the cricket world to make that happen. And Surrey, would you agree? Surrey are quite at the forefront of that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a massive part of the game to make people feel welcomed into it, and the fans not feeling that the Oval was a place for them before. And I think, like we said, the Barmy Army have a nice space when England are playing, and when India are over, the Bharat Army do. And we was working with Surrey on creating like an area for the West Indian fans where you can have like your jerk pans and a rum shack, and just kind of make it more Caribbean food type options for the West Indies fans to make feel welcomed in there. And I think all grounds have that responsibility to make everyone feel welcome, that it's a place for them, and even in general, not just when the Stinnies are here, but for us, the Ovals in Lambeth, and we've got a massive Caribbean, African, and Portuguese community. So the food stalls should be kind of reflective of that, the food options, and just embracing all the community as best as you can.
Well, that is phenomenal. So we looked at that mission statement. You want to accelerate change. We looked at supporting diverse talent from grassroots to the elite, building grassroots programs, creating an elite academy, and actually including the development of coaching to bring coaching into the game. We talked about the addition of role models, the financial support that can be given to aspirant young Black and African Caribbean players. So and indeed we talked a little bit about working with the Cricket Supporters Association. So as you effect change from within the game, from the playing and participation side, they're looking at the supporters side, and effectively you're pushing in the same direction. It's incredibly exciting. It's an incredibly exciting initiative. It's off to a fantastic start. Just to conclude, tell us, if I want to know more or I want to get involved and I catch this interview, who should I talk to, and what are the ways I can help?
Yeah, no, you can contact myself. Anyone can contact me. From my email, which is chevy@aceprogram.com. I'll repeat it again. Chevy, CHEVY @aceprogram.com. And you can check out our website at aceprogram.com as well. And we keep a lot of our up-to-date things that are going on, our training sessions and everything else on our Instagram page as well. So you can check that out at ace.program on Instagram, and we've got other social media platforms that can all be found on our website. So please contact me, email me with any requests to be part of the program. Very much looking forward to hearing from new people who want to be involved, and a credit to yourself, Tony, and Gorilla Cricket for reaching out to help spreading the awareness of the ACE program. And all of this stuff helps to try and get more young people involved in the game, and you never know who's listening or watching who will feel like, oh, that's an opportunity for me, or opportunity for my child or my nephew or my niece, or anyone, cousin, whoever. So this stuff is important, and greatly appreciate you having me on. And please do spread the word of the ACE program. You can find us on our website, aceprogram.com, and please do email me, at chevy@aceprogram.com, or info@aceprogram.com, whatever is easier. Just please get in touch, and looking to support many people at whatever level they're at, whether it's at the elite level. But like we said, we want to take talent from the grassroots to the elite. So no matter where you are, no matter what stage you are at with cricket, please get in touch with us.
Well, certainly people do. We hope this interview will go out at some point during our coverage of the Sri Lanka and England series. There's bags of cricket this year, despite despite all the challenges that the world throws in its way. There's still cricket to see, cricket to watch, and you will hear that. It will, of course, go out on all of our usual channels, YouTube, on our podcast channel. If you're a Patreon, you'll probably get the chance to hear those first, if you're a Patreon of Gorilla Cricket. So for now, I would like to say thank you very much indeed.
Well, wasn't that a perfectly timed interview from the Bear?
Well, I'm actually back, by the way. I'm free.
You're back, but you're not on Bear.
Oh, okay.
just to point that out to you.
Classic Bear, yeah. So I'm delighted to be joined for the first time in 2021 by Nigel Hendo Henderson.
Jono,